starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning and welcome to Tampa City Council meeting held this day on May 19th, 2022. If we could, may we please rise and have a moment of silence. Thank you. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Carlson, Vieira, Maniscalco,
Here.
Hurtek,
Here.
Goods,
Here.
Miranda,
Here.
and Citro.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
Thank you. Mr. Massey.
Good morning, council members and public. This is the May 19, 2022 meeting of the City Council of the City of Tampa being held in City Council chambers on the third floor of Old City Hall, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard here in Tampa, Florida. The public is able to attend this meeting in person or view it via cable television on Spectrum Channel 640 or Frontier Channel 15, or by the internet via www.tampa.gov/livestream. The public is also able to participate in this meeting during public comment for a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker, either here in person in City Council chambers or virtually by way of communication, media technology, or CMT. However, the use of CMT does require pre-registration with the City Clerk's office. Directions for pre-registration are included in the notice of the meeting and on the agenda. Members of the public may also participate in quasi-judicial matters remotely via CMT, but cell phones and smartphones are not compatible as they will not allow your camera when connected. You must have access to a CMT device such as a tablet or a computer equipped with a camera or a microphone that will enable you to be seen or heard by City Council and other participants in a quasi-judicial matter only. And that's the rules today. I would like to, can I get a motion to waive your standard rules to allow participation by CMT? But
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, do we have any changes to the agenda?
I believe there's a memo from the chair regarding staff reports and unfinished business to take place after request for reconsideration of legislative matters, except for items 62, 63, and 76, which will be held until the end of the agenda. These are the items I'm aware of that have changed. There are a couple changes that I think may occur during the public hearings, but we have to wait till the public hearings are open to deal with those matters.
Shall we go through staff reports right now to see if a memo will do, or do
Sure.
we want to
I
make
think
sure
that's a
that
good
they're
idea,
seen? Here. Again, items 62 and 63 and 76 will be held until 1:30 unless we get to the agenda in time. Item number 64.
You have a memo for Mr. Baird. Do you need his appearance this morning?
Yes.
Yes?
Okay, then item 65. Do we need staff reports here? Do we need staff here for this? Councilman Vieira, that's.
Oh, yes, no, no, Mr. Chairman, thank you. We can, the presentation for that's going to be on this Tuesday, I believe, and all are invited to come, and so no, nothing at all.
Okay, then we'll cancel 65. 66, we got a memorandum that's asking for this to be continued until July 28th. Have a motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor? Any opposed?
Then item 67, you have a memorandum for me, and I'm happy to go through it in detail with you all, but otherwise, if that will suffice. I believe that was Councilman Carlson's motion, seconded by Councilman Vieira.
Okay,
You want to hold that until he,
we'll hold that.
okay.
Item number 68.
This is the memorandum of the update on the SOG matters.
Okay, 69. That's also a memorandum.
He's asking that it be continued to June 16th, so if I could.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? I see that Ms. Feely is already here for item number 70. 71?
And there will be an appearance or a discussion on that item, I believe, under staff reports, so.
And that goes along with 72, 73. That, I would
morning,
like to
Council.
see staff here for that.
Okay.
74
So I believe that's a
and
report that you're looking
75.
you're waiting from, well, number 74 is a report from Mr. Shelby, who obviously is absent, so I would ask for that item to be continued at least for 30 days.
And since 74 and 75 will be heard together, we will continue both of them.
So moved. Yeah.
Yes.
Motion's been made by Councilman Maniscalco. Who seconded that? Councilman Miranda. All in favor, say aye. Is there any opposed? And item number 76 will be heard after that.
So can I get a motion to approve the changes to the agenda and the agenda?
Motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Vieira. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Thank you very much. All right, we have our ceremonials. Councilman Miranda.
Members of Tampa City Council, it's indeed a pleasure of mine to be with a young lady that I've known since I had long hair. And let me just say that she's an outstanding individual. Her personality is just fantastic. She smiles and greets everybody with a warm feeling that you feel you want to stay in the city of Tampa. Maybe that's why we gotten so big so quick. But let me just read this commendation to the best of my ability, because there's a lot of things in here. In recognition of 40 years, let me say that again, 40 years of dedicated service to the citizens of the city of Tampa. Una has had quite a career with the city, starting out in 1981 as a secretary, then in 1983 an administrative assistant, then in 1985 an executive assistant, then in 93 facilities manager. You sure you didn't work mayor here or something? Because you've been everywhere here, Luna. And it's amazing that then she worked at the Tampa Convention Center, where she started and had done an outstanding job. And that was in 2000, learning the center's complexities and intricacies of, and finally in 2018, she was named the Convention Center Director. Among the many achievements with helping the city grow as a destination and watching hotels and restaurants and develop accordingly with the beautiful individual that she had to deal with and all the contracts and things of that nature that requires the hotel director to do. She has just done an outstanding job, and more important than that, when we had about, 18 months or 2 years or something in that neighborhood of back and forth between here one day and then finally at the convention center, and all the logistics that she had to do to make sure that the guests were properly treated, that the individuals of the city were properly treated, and that the council members had at least a microphone that worked. She did it all without one wrinkle. In other words, even during hurricane season, they went somewhere else. She did an outstanding job, and for that, Ms. Garvey, una means one in Latin, and there's only one Una Garvey. She's right here to my left. And I admire her. I've always joked with her when I used to tell her, "Are your name Una, or is it Una, dos, y tres?" Which means 1, 2, and 3. But it's a pleasure with some heartfelt that we're leaving a great person retiring from the city of Tampa after 40 years. And if you get Mary Bryan's record and Una's Garvey record, that means a total of 100 years. Congratulations to all of you for helping, doing what you do at the convention center, and everyone here is so helpful that make the city what it is today. We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Una led, every band has a director, but no city has Una Garvey. So thank you again for your service to the city of Tampa. It's my honor and my pleasure to present you with this commendation.
Good morning, Honorable Council. Una Garvey, Director of Tampa Convention Center. This is my last time I'll be approaching the board, and I'm actually not asking for anything. So I want to thank you for, the past several years of support as we've continued to grow our destination and to bring new amenities into our city and into our center. It has truly been my privilege and my honor to be a City of Tampa employee for 40 years and to be allowed to grow through this organization all the way to the pinnacle of the top of my game, and to leave with a team that really has a really good foundation. Consummate professionals are running that convention center, and I can assure you that should you need to come back for any reason or any of the events that we host in our convention center, that they will receive the same level of services, exemplary throughout, that you can expect from our organization. And so I thank you, Councilman Miranda, and the rest of the council for this opportunity. I have been truly blessed. Thank you.
Ms. Garvey? Ms. Garvey, I'm sure there's some council people here that would like to say anything. Would like to say a few words to you. Councilman Carlson.
Thank you so much for your service over the years and for thinking big about an important center and economic engine for our area. And thanks for the tour, on the rooftop and all that. It was really scary walking around. But it's exciting to see all the new changes, and with the things that are visible, there's a lot of buzz about it. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I echo those comments, and thank you for your many years of public service. 4 decades is a very, very long time, and public service is an honorable call, no matter if it's elected or non-elected or whatever it may be. But just thank you for all your years of service.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations and thank you. We worked very closely together, you and your team, when we were over at the convention center during COVID. We appreciate, your leadership and your help and allowing us to run everything smoothly with the rest of the City of Tampa team. We couldn't have done it without you and everybody that's here with you today. So we appreciate it. We appreciate you, and happy retirement.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you for everything that you have done for the city. I have seen it mostly from the resident portion, and coming down to the convention center has always been easy, wonderful, great to get around, and congratulations on also just heralding in the renovations that are coming. Thinking forward past your retirement, the city really appreciates that, and I wish you all the best, and I hope you get a chance to rest and relax and do whatever it is that you want to do.
Great.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for orchestrating a convention center that is now, people around the country come here now because we have a big place that people can now really, really enjoy Tampa. So I can remember many years ago, my fraternity, we missed out on a couple national organizations because we didn't have the facilities to hold it or the hotels to really hold conventions here. But I'm proud to say next year my fraternity will be the first fraternity national, have a national conclave come to the city of Tampa, because now we have the amenities that they're looking for. So thank you for that success for us, and congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Garvey, you stepped in and you took control when we were hit with COVID. And you transformed that convention center into a chamber for city council and other boards and committees to do their work. And I thank you for working so well and making that possible for us. Is there anybody behind you that you want to mention, introduce? Maybe your husband?
As long as he doesn't have to speak, he said he'd be fine to be introduced. I'm right here. My husband. So, yeah, I am honored to introduce my entire team from the convention center who helped run your event while you were in COVID-related opportunities. You know, one of the things that I can probably be proudest of is that when we came to that moment in time in 2020, that we actually thought about how we could recover from it. It was more about how we repurpose the facility and recover from it. And based on the relationships that the team has with our clients, we were able to rescue 87% of our clients into future years. So the future is looking very, very bright for our convention center. And then if you haven't been in the center since last week, we have completely remodeled the entire first floor. You will find it completely done with all new carpets, finishes, paint, textures. There's new furniture coming. Well, not new furniture, but reupholstered furniture, because we wanted to save taxpayer dollars. And we have all brand new signage throughout the facility. So I welcome you to come in and meet with one of our team members. They'll be happy to walk you back through and show you all of the great things that are happening in the convention center. And we are still on target to be completed with our expansion in 23 of May. And we're really, really excited about what that opportunity brings for us. So.
Well, I want you to be there for that ribbon cutting of the expansion and be certain that I'll save a parking space for you.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Garvey.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Ms. Shirley Fox Knoll. Agenda item number 2.
Good morning, Council. Shirley Fox Knoll, City Clerk. I'm here to go over item number 2 through 7. And the first item would be the Code Enforcement Public Nuisance Abatement Board. We have one candidate, and Randy Kevin Jackson, if he would come forward.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable Chair and members of the City Council, good morning. I am Randy Jackson. I'm requesting reappointment to the Code Enforcement Public Nuisance Abatement Board. A little about me: I reside in the area of New Tampa in the subdivision of Arbor Green. I'm employed by the United States Air Force as a civilian analyst here at MacDill. I have a combined 15 years of Tampa residency between South Tampa and New Tampa. In accordance with Chapter 9 of the City Code, appointments are made on the basis of experience or interest in the subject matter jurisdiction. I have both. As my second term concluded, I was the chair for the combined board. I remain interested in volunteering for the position, one, because my life is enriched by having a better understanding of our city government. 2, I contribute in some small way to the betterment of positive growth of our community. And 3, I'm afforded the platform on which to be an example to my 2 sons as I engage my civic duty at the most important level of government. Here again, I am requesting reappointment a 3rd term. Thank you for your time and consideration. Have a good day.
Move to reappoint.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. Roll call vote.
Yes.
Vieira.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Shirley Fox Knoll, City Clerk. I'm here for item number 3. Thomas J. Plucken can't make it. He's asking for a reappointment to the Historic Preservation Board.
Move to reappoint.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goode. Roll call vote.
Viera.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Pertek.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goode.
Yes.
And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Shirley Fox Snow, City Clerk. Here for the Architectural Review Board, John Joseph Prokop, if he's here.
I actually didn't know I'd be asked to speak today, but I've been practicing architecture for 40 years and have completed numerous award-winning historic restoration and renovation projects throughout the country. I was nominated to serve on the New Orleans Architectural Review Board, but had to relocate before I could serve. I've been here in Tampa, resident in Tampa for 20 years, and I'd be honored to help guide developers, residents, citizens to help preserve the character of our historic neighborhoods and buildings.
Move to reappoint.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Vieira. Roll call vote.
Miranda.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Pertek.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Viera.
Yes.
Goode.
Yes.
And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shirley Fox Snow, City Clerk. Here for the Barrio Latino Commission, Robert Antonio Torres.
I don't see Mr. Torres here.
Move to reappoint.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goode. Roll call vote.
Pertek.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Goode.
Yes.
Viera.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Shirley Fox Snow, City Clerk. Here for the Hillsborough City Council Planning Commission. The first applicant is Mr. Stephen D. Blair. He can't make it, and he left this statement. I appreciate your consideration for my appointment to the Planning Commission despite my inability to appear in person due to COVID. I stood before you 3 years ago as an applicant for this commission, as well as an applicant for the Citizens Review Board, to which you appointed me. In my 2-year term on the Citizen Review Board, I further learned the importance of communication, leadership, and transparency in working with a small group to solve issues and create collaboration. Now that I've rolled off the Citizen Review Board, I would like to further engage in helping lead our community to even greater success. I would love to be appointed to the Planning Commission to help strategically and collaboratively plan for the citywide growth and development. I've loved, worked, and volunteered in this community for 16 years. My professional work at USF and my 13 years on the board of my Tampa Palms HOA further attest to my strength and abilities. I appreciate your consideration and apologize for this unexpected absence today. There are 3 applicants, Stephen Blair, Herman Saria, and Jeffrey Anthony Martell. The next applicant is Herman Saria.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm moved to Tampa in 2018, so I'm fairly a new resident compared to other applicants. 37 years old, grew up in Nepal, lived in different countries, Taiwan, different states in the U.S., from Florida, starting from Florida, Georgia, Washington, D.C., Maryland, Alaska, and back to Florida again in 2018. And I've been working with United Airlines for past 2.5 years and been in the airline industry for more than 12 years. And I believe that's one of the important part of Florida as well. Aviation is a big community, important aspect of the economic growth over here as well. However, as a citizen, I thought it would be a good idea to take participation in the government workings and have a good understanding as well. So that was one of the reasons I applied. And one of the key things I like to do is understand the data behind all the planning, because everything is based on analytics, and I believe that's important. However, as when we look at the citizens' point of view, there can be certain things that may work and may not work. However, that's my goal to bring to the table when it comes to city planning. And also being able to travel to different cities, different countries at the same times, give me the opportunity to see what works and what doesn't work in a city. However, it's also important to make sure you keep the heritage and move in a direction which is in line with the requirements of the citizen. So I would like to share my information if I get selected to the point in the city planning. So that's about it. Thank you.
Shirley Fox Knows, City Clerk. The third applicant is Jeffrey Anthony Martell.
Good morning. Thank you for the time and the opportunity to be considered for the position. My name is Jeffrey Martell. On the professional side, I'm a licensed civil engineer, also working in transportation engineering. I work for a company called Stonefield Engineering and Design, which is right here in Rivergate Tower. Throughout my career, about 90% of the projects I've worked on have been in the private sector, land development projects, retail, residential, office, multifamily, industrial, etc. About 10% of the projects being in the public sector, capital improvement projects, public schools and universities, as well as religious institutions. On the personal side, my family and I live in South Tampa in the Bon Air neighborhood. We're new residents to the community. Obviously, Tampa is growing, and we're certainly a product of that. I do have a strong desire to be a contributing member of the community and the city, and I submitted my application for this position because I do think it is the perfect marriage between what I'm looking to do on the personal side, obviously become involved and contribute, and married with my professional skill set and experience. I regularly attend public planning and zoning commission meetings throughout my career. I've attended and participated in 300+ meetings, so I think I would be a good fit for the position. Thank you again for the time.
Council, a ballot is required, so if you could complete your ballot, and I will count them. While we can move on to number 7, the Variance Review Board, and we have Samantha Decker and Cher Lena Powers. The first applicant is Samantha Decker.
Good morning, City Council. My name is Sam Decker, and I currently serve as an alternate position on the Variance Review Board. I've served in that position since 2019, and in my nearly 3 years of serving in the alternate position, I've attended nearly every meeting because we are in need of to fill some empty seats. I've heard over 100 Variance Review Board cases. By day, I'm a real estate attorney, so I review things like site plans and surveys and easements and engineering reports on a daily basis. And I think that this has really helped my contributions to the Variance Review Board as we review very similar documents presented by applicants. Today I'm applying for a full position as the civic representative. This was a position that was vacated by Dr. Susan Long back in December. I live in the Ballast Point neighborhood, and many of the variance cases that we hear are for properties in and around the South Tampa area. So I think that I have a good pulse on what the neighborhood is looking for, and believe that I can fill the civic representative position as it was intended. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next applicant is Sherlina Powers.
That was going to be my question. Ms. Shirley Fox Knowles, was one application for a permanent and one was for?
To fill that.
To fill, okay.
The alternate, yes.
May I have a motion to accept? Go ahead.
I'll make the motion to accept, and I just want to say congratulations.
Second. A motion made by Councilwoman Hurtak, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Goose. Vieira.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
And I second the congratulations on that.
Yeah, we move forward with this planning commission presentation where they tabulate the votes, or?
We need a motion for the second alternate position. Is that together?
Okay. Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Vieira.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
And Citro.
Yes.
Council, the first round for the Hillsborough City County Planning Commission are as follows. Stephen Blair has 2 votes. They're from Vieira and Miranda. Hermnet Asaria has 3 votes. And Jeffrey Anthony Martell has 2 votes. So we would have to vote again.
Could you announce who voted for the other candidates as well? We have to announce who voted for who.
Yes, Hermnet Saria voted. The votes came from Carson, Hurtak, and Citro. Jeffrey Martell, the votes came from Goods and Maniscalco. So we need at least 4.
Please silence your phones if you're ringing out. Thank you.
If we can please have our cell phones on silent. Thank you. There you go. That's it.
I wanted to, just to a point of personal privilege, I wanted to mention when we did our invocation, but today is the anniversary of 2 police officers that were killed in the line of duty, Bell and Childers, 1998. Today is 24 years. I know we all remember that day, but I just want to acknowledge that they will never be forgotten, and we remember them for their sacrifice and service to the city.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Councilman.
As you mentioned, I remember that day because I was there that day.
Yeah.
Remember the interstate at Florida, Nebraska, the hotel, the other county over. That was work with those guys, detectives on many cases, and that was one heck of a day in Tampa that day, gentlemen. That was one heck of a day. Total chaos all over the place. But God is a merciful God. He's a good God. We got past it. But I want to say, man, that was one hell of a day.
Chief Bennett.
Good morning, Council. Good morning, public. John Bennett, Chief of Staff. I just want to thank Council for acknowledging the never-to-be-forgotten detectives. As Councilman Goods mentioned, I too was both on every scene that day, including the apprehension and ending of the suspect. But we all should recognize that we lost a state trooper in that same day, in that same journey as well. So again, I appreciate you and the public acknowledging that day.
Thank you, Chief.
Shirley Fox Snow, City Clerk. The individual selected for the Hillsborough City County Planning Commission is Herman Saria, who has 4 votes. The votes were as follows. Stephen Blair had 2 votes from Vieira and Miranda. Herman Saria had 4 votes from Carson, Goods, Hurtak, and Citro. And Jeffrey Martell had 1 vote for Maniscalco.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Ms. Shirley Fox Knoll. Congratulations. All right. Agenda item number 8.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yes, indeed. I'm not sure if my presentation is ready, but we do have a backup in terms of like the Elmo.
On the Elmo?
Yes, but we're hoping that will be available. However,
Correct. Do we have the PowerPoint presentation?
oh, I believe it might be here. I'm not sure if
IT? There we go. Thank you.
Okay, once again, good morning. This is Yasser Gonzalez, Planning Commission. I hope this day is treating you well. Speaking, just referring to an earlier item, making Tampa a very interesting destination. When I used to travel before the pandemic, we used to look at airport destinations, and the answer was always yes when I was going to Tampa. I said the most interesting destination in this board. It was always yes. So anyhow, in this item, it's an information item only. I'd like to also acknowledge that we have Ms. Kramer here from the Supervisor Relations Office on behalf of Mr. Latimer that was here in previous elections. So, perfect, okay. So, why do we redistrict the City Council every 4 years? First of all, it's required by law. and it's part of it's being codified as Section 2.01 of the city charter, so that's why we do it. And the Planning Commission, which we have been appointed a new commissioner, congratulations, staff recommends, and the Planning Commission approves these new boundaries. And what we're trying to do is, as the city is a fast-growing city, that the population of the 4 single-member districts is as equal as possible. So when we took a look at the populations based on the Census 2020 numbers, we found a range which was higher than 5%, and I'll show you that later. And also on our quest, aside from being as conservative as possible, we also needed to avoid retrogression, which is a kind of fancy word, but it just means that for those historically disadvantaged communities, we are not here to dilute their power, their voting power, so we're trying to keep them together as much as practicable. So this is a lot of numbers in this chart, but the key number there is in red is 5.6%. That's what the population deviation is. So again, we have 4 alternatives that we created to reduce this number from 5.6 to, again, hopefully less than 5. Let's do this. The Planning Commission historically, and this instance was no exception, has engaged in a comprehensive outreach effort throughout the city. We had a website in English and Spanish. We had technical reports of how we actually came up with these numbers. Somebody with a pen and a pencil could replicate our calculations. That was the idea. We had letters, we had emails, we had telephone calls, neighborhood associations, yourselves. Some of you met with us. Thank you very much for spending the time with us and getting to know the process and getting to know the alternatives. The NAACP, the Hispanic Services Council, the League of Women Voters, etc. We also hosted a 4 in-person. Again, we had to wear masks and follow all the safety protocols at that point that was going on, in locations throughout that were, we had to move a whole precinct, so we tried to be as close or within the precinct that we were moving. So that's one thing. And they were on weekday evenings, and they were alternating a Tuesday, a Thursday, a Wednesday. That way, again, it helped everybody. In keeping up with the times, we held 2 virtual workshops on Saturday mornings. So again, for those that couldn't manage to be there on a weekday, they were there. And here's one of the a picture of one of the open houses that we had there. And again, Ms. Kramer and her staff were on hand to answer questions from the public in terms of voting. What does that mean for me? Is this going to change how I vote? And all these things. They were able to answer those questions. We have press releases, we have newspapers, advertisements, etc. After all that, again, we came to you in October. We did some activity prior to the holiday. Did understandably suspended activities for the holidays, and then they took things right after MLK Day. We retook things, in earnest again, and we had the open houses. After the open houses, there were 2 public hearings at the Planning Commission. At the second public hearing, the Planning Commission approved what was called at that point Alternative 2. Again, because we do this every 4 years, these are surgical movements. We're not switching a ton of people around. And so some of you that met with us who knew that. We just a couple of precincts here and there. Again, because we do this so frequently, we don't have to do, there's not a lot of maintenance to do in terms of So again, 2 precinct 318 moving from Council District 5 to Council District 6, and 338 from 7 to 5. This Alternative 2 has the lowest range, and it yielded, again, going back to the fancy word retrogression, yielded the most African-American voters in District 5, again, over 50%, as we saw in an earlier slide, and Hispanic voters in District 6, as we saw, nearly 25%. Again, fancy, a lot of numbers. I'm an analyst, I apologize. I love this kind of charts, but I know it's not everybody's favorite. But 2 numbers here, again, just showing you and the members of the public that, again, 51% of the voters in Council District 5 are African Americans, and Hispanic voters are around 25% in District 6. This, although I'm one person here, this is a cast of dozens, of course. Again, we cannot thank enough the supervisor of elections. Again, you have one of the best, in my opinion, personal and professional, outfits in terms of supervision of elections. Again, when I came over here recently, moved to Hillsborough a couple years ago. Again, super smooth to transfer. I was able to work as a poll worker, extensive training, all that. So it's really, really top notch. Again, the City of Tampa attorney, Mr. Shelby and them, always very patient, going through some of the language, some of the, again, my first time doing this project, so I was, had questions about, article, so some of the city charter language and some of the language, and they were able to walk me through it, and again, just get me on the clear in terms of legal matters. And again, I always like to be on the right side of the legal staff, so that helped me. The Hillsborough County Public Schools always very open and made available some of the facilities that they have. So it's again fabulous. And lastly, but never the least, is the public the county library services. Again, if you haven't had a chance to be in a library facility, one of the multi-purpose rooms, it's just amazing, state of the art. All the tech is there. So again, whatever you can do to support that going forward, and that would be excellent. And again, just in the sign of the times, Instagram is very influential. So again, this is a post by Ronald Nelson, and he's just went to one of our open houses at the library, and he was broadcasted to his followers that this is this what happened. He encouraged them to go out, and as some of the council persons have said, we have unfortunately a lower turnout than we would like at the city election. So this is helpful to have that. Any questions?
Any comments? Any questions? Councilman Goods?
I think they did a good job on the map. When you look at the map and you look at how District 5 is in the upper section of the Rowlett Park, Sulphur Springs area, because it gets confusing to some of the voters of 5 and 7. So I think by doing that, it alleviates that problem with Bush Boulevard. So I think it was a great job.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, comments?
Any other comments or questions? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now go to public comment. Public comment? And if we can please form a line to my left, to your right. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Pastor Frank Williams, located at Paradise Missionary Baptist Church. And I'm going to read some scripture to you all from the Bible of Genesis, 18th chapter, 19th chapter, and the 4th verse I'll start. But therefore they lay down, and the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round about old men, both old men and young men, are the peoples of every quarter. And they called unto Lot, and said unto him, Where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And Lot went out of the door unto them, and shut the door after, and said, I pray you, brother, do not so wicked. And the reason I'm reading that to you, they show something on TV where I'm not approved of. And 2 men kissing each man in the mouth, which when I was coming up, we call them sissy. And that's so nasty for them to put something like that on TV. And I know some of y'all might not want to hear, but it's the truth coming from God. I'm a preacher, and I have to preach the truth, regardless of whether people like me or not. And the things what we're doing nowadays, it's against God's law and against God's rules. And we got to know, I want people to know that it ain't only black men that kissing one another in the mouth. Boy, my time up already?
No, you have another 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's not just black men, but white men and all the messing with little boys, men messing with little girls. God don't approve that, and I don't either. And we got to understand, we must do what's right in the sight of God. I know sometimes people don't want to hear me preach, but I got to preach what God put on my heart to do. And that's what I'm going to do until I go to the graveyard, because God has been so good to all of us, not just me, all of us, sitting in here right now. We're not here on our own. We're here because God woke us up on due time, and that's what life is all about. And I want to tell y'all, start giving God the praise and the glory for what he's doing for all of us in this world. God bless all of y'all.
Thank you, sir.
Come on. I'm not going to crook you down.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Betty J. Bell. I live in East Tampa. I have lived there for 53 years. My address is 3003 Star Street, Tampa, Florida, 33605. I'm here this morning for 2 reasons. One, on behalf of Councilman Gould. Councilman Gould has been in East Tampa working tirelessly for the citizens in East Tampa. I know I have been at some of the meetings. He has been at some that concern me, and he was at one most recently, and I took a picture with him. I want you to know that from my heart, when you decide to throw stones, make sure those stones don't come back and hit you. Also this morning, I'm here for the senior center in East Tampa, which we have been trying for 3 years to get. And for some reason, that venture has been held up. Not because of that old store, but because of other reasons. Because buildings are going up all over Tampa, but you can't seem to get a senior center for the seniors in East Tampa. Now, I work with a group of seniors, and before the pandemic, we had 181 seniors. Now we have 79, which is pretty good. We went up on the fee that they were to pay us in order to be a member, which was $10 a month. It has gone very well. We go on trips, we enjoy, we have no equipment I say, like machines and etc. We are in an event center, and we need a place. We need a place where the seniors can come and enjoy themselves and not have to get up and leave. Before, we was in that space where we had to leave every time the children came in. There are rec centers all over Tampa, but they don't accommodate the seniors. So we need a place. We need it badly. I'm not asking for anything that is wanted. I'm asking for something that is needed. And Councilman Gould, I want you to continue working for East Tampa. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Goode. Please.
I see Ms. Travis in the audience, so hopefully Ms. Travis can get with you later. We've been working behind the scenes, and I know that I've been pushing them and pushing them. And I'm prayerful that we'll have some kind of resolution within the end of this month, the beginning of next month. I'm prayerful that's going to happen. That's my dream. That's my vision. I know when we first started this venture, it's been a long time coming, and I'm hoping that we can have something within the next 30 days to solidify the dreams of East Tampa and the dreams of the seniors, because this what it was all about. Why I ran was all about making sure some of the things that we didn't have in East Tampa that we truly get. So I'm hoping that Mr. McCray and Mr. Travis can get with you and the seniors sometime within the next week or so and kind of give you all kind of heads up of where we're headed. So I'm prayerful that it's going to happen. I'm very prayerful of that. Thank you.
Chair Citro and members, my name is Ryan Barrick. I'm an attorney with Qual Barrick Nadu. The Tampa City Charter at section 2.02 provides for districts 4 through 7 that members need to be resident of the district for 6 months immediately prior to commencement of their term in office and continue to be resident throughout their term. Councilmember Goode meets these qualifications. He moved into District 5 in March 2018, well in advance of the 2019 election, and his residence has remained in the district throughout his term. Councilmember Goods is a duly elected member of this council and will continue to represent and advocate for his constituents and all of the people of Tampa. This is not the place for me to discuss accusations, and to be clear, that's all they are. Rather, we will respond at the appropriate time and in the appropriate form. I want to speak briefly on media reports regarding a secret settlement that the City of Tampa attorney purportedly entered into. This is very, very troubling, and the actions of the mayor and the city attorney in using city funds to shield themselves and their human resources department is outrageous. Resolving the claim in secret without the benefit of the investigative tools associated with litigation, like sworn testimony, discovery, and without involving City Council Member Goods, does not serve the interests of this city. As a board-certified labor and employment lawyer who's practiced in this community for almost 25 years, I can tell you that this is not how cases settle. Settlement without the employee having to file a charge of discrimination with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, where many of the allegations are time-barred on their face, and others do not rise to the high legal standards to support a claim, is simply unprecedented. Similarly, a government entering into a settlement that purports to specifically exclude claims against a duly elected official, knowing that a lawsuit will be filed the next week against that same official, it never happens. What legitimate purpose is served by this settlement? The answer is there is no legitimate purpose served by this settlement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
I am here to put some information out there because around my community, it was stated by several people, and I got several calls, that this meeting would be to take a vote to...
Excuse me, Mr. Adams, please state your name.
Eddie Adams, Jr. That this council would meet this morning and take a vote to remove one of the councilmen. And I kind of looked it up, and the only way you can remove an elected official, even somebody working for the supervisor of election office, is to either have a recall or have the governor replace that person. So anybody who listening, you know, to this and watching this would know that you guys can't sit up there because you all are equal and vote somebody out. You know, this is not like they do in high school or college or somewhere like that. And the other issue is that I'm not a lawyer, but it's out that the city paid someone $200,000, you know, in a case that's involving one of the councilmen without it going through the council, without it going through, and somehow this stuff keep leaking out. Well, part of it was on news. So either you guys are leaking it to the news or somebody else from City Hall is leaking stuff to the news. And I say all the time, I have a radio program, I say all the time, politics is a blood sport, but this is it at its worst. This is when people are pretty much carrying on a vendetta, using the media as a weapon against one of your brothers. You know, you only got one lady up there, but so for the most part, this is not the way we should be doing business. And I hear people keep talking about corruption and all this kind of other stuff. Like, you've never heard me come up here and talk to you guys about corruption, but some of this other stuff, it may not be corruption, but it's just as bad because you got a whole community believing that you guys are teaming up on Orlando, and I've come before and said, so y'all know I support Orlando, and I support the black leaders throughout this community, because as a community, we got to stand together. That's the only way we're going to make anything happen. So I'm just saying, you know, that no matter what's going on behind the scenes, all this stuff is going to come to light, and I know that for all intents and purposes, unless he resigns, which I got pretty good faith he ain't going to resign, you know, that it's only two legal ways to get rid of him, if that's what you're trying to do. And he's not going to step down on his own. I can't speak for him, but I'm saying I think he's a strong enough man to understand that all these plots and all this other stuff that's going on against him may hurt and sound bad, but for all intents and purposes, if you ain't done nothing wrong, you ain't gotta worry about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just got to clear something up.
Excuse me. Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Although there was no reference made to names of the council members, but I'm just speaking for myself, and I'm sure all the other 5 or 6 can speak for themselves. This council has never met in private or publicly to discuss Mr. Goods or not to discuss Mr. Goods. There's no backdoor talking about council members going to one chamber or the other saying what's going to happen. The council does not have the authority to remove anyone from this council. So let me get that perfectly clear right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, God bless.
And if I may, Mr. Adams, rumors are started by people who don't know what they're talking about. And
That's
the
why I came
rumors,
here.
and the rumors that this councilman was going to elect to remove anybody is just a rumor by somebody who's talking about something they know nothing about. Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Thank you. That's why I came here, out of respect.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Keela McCaskill, resident taxpayer in this district, and I'm going to read because I'm still trying to process how the administration gets to the point that we would defame this councilman's character and try to rush a settlement for $200,000 with no recommendations from the Ethics Committee. You know how I know? I went there. They didn't have any type of information on that case. No recommendation has not been offered at that date at their last meeting. So with all of that, why would this case, I'm still processing, I'm still trying to figure out why is there so much reference on the relationship prior to the councilman being an elected official. In reviewing that over and over again, I couldn't find it, but I also noticed that when the victim was hired, why would you hide that you were friends or affiliates with the elected official? Why would you hide that? What information is behind that? You were highly recommended based on who you dated, which was a friend of the councilman. And I'm saying this from what I read in a report from the 300+ pages. So the victim, again, is leaving out some information. I don't know why, but there's something there, and I'm sure it'll come out. Had we gone to trial, had we let this go through the process, there would have been sworn testimony. People wouldn't lie under oath, hopefully. There'll be evidence, there'll be pictures. I submit to you, you'll find that the alleged victim and her child spent a lot of time at the councilman's home. They were uncomfortable swimming in the pool. You're uncomfortable, but you Halloween and trick-or-treating at this man's home. What I don't understand is how we get to the point that we will spend taxpayer dollars on a frivolous, he said, she said type of case in this climate where we are today. We're in the middle of a crisis. If you're going to spend $200,000, spend it on something legitimate. If you're going to spend $200,000, spend it on some of the requests that's come from the community. How dare you waste taxpayer dollars on something, a frivolous lawsuit, and then you do it in secret? No recommendation from anyone as normal process. I don't understand that. And then the mayor weaponized, or the administration weaponized sexual harassment, which is why real victims don't come forward, because of all the nonsense that comes before a real case. So unfortunately, we're here. Now it's all in the media and you're defaming this man's character. I want to send a message to the other people that would like to be city council members potentially when we re-elect other people to fill your seats. You don't have to be the mayor's lapdog to avoid lawsuits. You don't have to follow her commands to avoid lawsuits. You can represent the people that voted you in. That's your assignment. And we're asking you to do the same when that frivolous lawsuits come forward. Councilman Goods, we thank you for everything that you've done in this district. You've done so much, change the trajectory of what happens in East Tampa. We've not seen that type of leadership before. You keep staying the course, putting one foot in front of the other one. And the God that put you in that position, who started a good work, he's faithful to complete it. There's more for you than against you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. Just a copy of the community code and item number 28. And item number 28 on your agenda is very interesting and connected to all this other stuff. Good morning. My name's Stephanie Pointer.
Ms. Pointer, if I
Yes.
may, you're
Yes.
also registered to speak online.
Yeah,
Do you
I'm
want
here.
me to take you off of that?
I prefer to register to speak online, and if I can't make it, then I can always do
Then
that.
I will take you off that
But I
list.
felt like after reviewing the media presentations last night, and I want to remind you that last Thursday night, by accident, Carol Ann and I got up here and testified and had not been sworn in. And there were several people in this room who'd like to have had a blue baby about it. And that was really sweet, and it was accidental. But I remind you that none of the evidence against Councilman Goods is under oath. But yet, we spoke for 3 minutes about something that ultimately doesn't matter. And everybody freaked out about it. So I just want everybody to remember how important it is to be sworn in. We have the 14 points item on the agenda. You guys have already passed it on. We disagree with some of the stuff that's on it, but we've already spoke with Ms. Travis about it. We're going to set up a meeting with her and Mr. Benson, and we're going to work on it. The big fish today, in my opinion, is item number 28 on the agenda. Pre-approving legal department to spend $100,000 with 26 law firms. That's $2.6 million. That's $2 million more than we have for the sidewalk fund. I kept wondering, how does the city go and spend $98,000 investigating City Councilman Goods without bringing it before the people who hold the pocketbook? Well, here's why. Number 28 today. We just give a blanket. Go ahead and spend $100,000 with these people. We could hire, 10 full-time attorneys for that, which you guys desperately need, at least one more for city council. But that's just my opinion. Okay, here's the other issue. Those funds were spent without consulting the Ethics Commission. How do I know that? Because I went to the Ethics Commission meeting on the 12th of April. And in that meeting, the chairperson, Ms. Bricklemeyer, said that they had not had an ethics complaint in 4 years. Well, if that's the case, and you have right here at the top of this paper I just gave you is the requirements for the makeup of the Ethics Commission. The Ethics Commission is probably by far the least biased group of people that represent the citizens in this city. Why would administration not take it to that group of people and say, is this worth investigating? Because if you read the Ethics Commission bylaws, it says that they are the people who should decide whether something gets investigated or not. Not the legal department, not city council, but the Ethics Commission. And yet they never went there. Why did the Ethics Commission never see these items that we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars of our tax dollars on because somebody got a whim and a fart crosswise? Please deny this. Why do they need 26 law firms to have $100,000 carte blanche? It's crap. It really is. What did they spend it on last year? I don't know. The only thing I know about them using outside law firms for is Councilman Goods' investigation, which was not under oath, I'll remind you. I support you, sir.
Thank you.
I wouldn't want anybody telling anybody what I say beside my pool when I'm drinking either.
Good morning. It's Shalina Williams. I'm a small business owner and a resident of East Tampa. I don't get into politics. I have very low confidence in school district, all of it. I just came to advise of my support for Councilman Goods. I'm 48 years old. I played basketball in high school, teen mom. And what I do know about this man is that even though I couldn't pursue my basketball in college because I had a baby, he sponsored our basketball team in East Tampa when I was 19 years old. So I just need to let the community know that he's not new to his walk in supporting East Tampa. He's been doing this a long time, and I just wanted you to know that I do support you. I own small private schools for special needs students. When I have a need, Councilman Goods is one of the people that calls and says, what do you need? I needed a water fountain so I could meet the codes of this city, and he made sure that happened for my students. So I just want to advise the community that his character is upstanding, and we appreciate you, Councilman Goods.
Thank you.
Good morning, Robin Lockett. First of all, I want to say I need more time. I have a lot to say. So item number E2022-8, the 60-day item that y'all are going to review and adopt possibly today, I'm asking that it be put back on the back burner for Thursday. There's a workshop being held. Everything except for rent stabilization with different ideas to stabilize the system. So I have more information, and I dropped the ball on this, so I own that. In regards to your council said that it was not legal for this to be done. So I want to present something saying that it is. So I'm asking that y'all don't, you don't adopt it today, you don't approve it today, that is pushed back with everything else that's going to happen on Thursday. Ms. Bell so I brought seniors in last time, on last Thursday. Protecting seniors and children. Nothing else said. That's what we should be doing, right? Looking out for them and protecting them by any means necessary. Making their last lives the best that it can be, right? With comfort, with activity and so forth. So that's the second thing. Orlando Goose. Location. There's not one time you can drive down Hillsborough Avenue and not see Orlando's car. There's not one time I can pop up to his house and he not be there. Location. People play games with the residencies of living in a district so many times, and I'm in politics. I've dealt with politicians for a long time. And plenty of times they will move into a district just to run into it. But there's not one time that I have not seen or been able to reach Orlando at that location. Due process. He has not had due process. What's offending to me? He's a black man. I got 2 black kids, 2 black sons to be exact. Again, I put forth this, it's not about the woman. I'm protecting my kids, and I want them to have due process, to be able to tell their story, to be able to provide their proof. Witness statements, I've been asking for that for a long time. People were we need witness statements, right? Haven't gotten them. They haven't been redacted and provided. Transparency, no transparency. You know, when I, when I first saw this city council come up, I was so impressed. Y'all were brave, y'all were making changes, and now, because of fear, that's scaring you guys. Y'all were really working for the people. That's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lockett.
And 'tis not. One thing I can say is, the Johnny Depp case give you a good example of it. When people make accusations or when people are a victim of, like if you wasn't in the room with them, you don't know what happened. But let's say for everything that happened, I'm happy the sister got $200,000 because we don't get nothing from this city. And I'm happy Brother Orlando is doing his thing and he stood up and he stood up and he didn't resign like the other person before him who they were trying to force out. So we have victory both ways. That's the way I see it in my eyes. But the fact of the matter is, when you've been victimized, you see and feel life differently. When you've been violently raped, you view sexual relationships differently. When you've been a victim of child molestation or child abuse, your adulthood confidence is diminished. When you possess black skin, you experience a life of racial discrimination. Your mental receptors are very sensitive to both small and big signs of racial insensitivity. There are 2 drawings right down here in this city council building that this city council need to go and take a look at. They're offensive. As you walk up the step, to black people, they're offensive. It's not reflective of this city, but it is reflective of the city policies. So those signs need to be removed. Those 2 paintings right there in that step need to be removed, okay? African people are disrespected internationally. That has been the case for the past 622 years. In 2022, in the most civilized country in the world, an 18-year-old white man in Buffalo, New York, surrounded by opportunities and luxuries, can fixate his imagination on identifying, locating, and violently exterminating African people. We saw that scenario repeated itself in South Carolina with Dylan Roof. One would think that it is the exemplification of racial hatred, but in reality, that is the bottom end of racial hatred. The people that are responsible for carrying out racial hatred are doing so through official policies, laws, legislation, and programs. The people that have been in the forefront of committing genocide against African people are the ones that are sitting in government offices and private corporate boardrooms. The people that are in the forefront of eliminating the African off this planet Earth are the white policymakers that make laws that disproportionately incarcerate Africans for victimless crimes, forcefully dispossess African people of our property, our cars, our bicycles, our land, our homes, our apartments, our places of residency through gentrification, our history through slavery, our future through lack of reparations, and our humanity through the programs that are racially motivated and racially offensive. The people that smile in our faces each and every day are the same people that are responsible for dispossessing us of everything that the United Nations and other organizations identify as standard life necessities. The city of Tampa has an eloquent way of deceiving African people. Our concerns and our reality are never attended to. We African people in this city have been moving backwards since the formation of this city. The white elected officials sitting right here in this city council have to bear some of the blame and the responsibility for the racial disparities that exist in this city. It is time this city government take a serious look at city reparations for its black residents, affordable housing, releasing all black citizens from criminal charges that are connected to victimless drug offenses, fixing child support discrepancies that adversely affect thousands of black men, black women, and black children, and removing all charges off the records of people been charged with victimless crimes.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Is there any other public comments in this chamber? Thank you. We will now go to public comments online. Ms. Carol Ann Bennett, are you there?
Hi, my name is Carol Ann Bennett. I'm a lifelong resident of Tampa. In 2019, the people of SOG found their voices and began to roar. They were deeply upset about a lot of things that were being done to their neighborhoods. The mayor responded by having a meeting with all of the community leaders and the members of many departments on March 26, 2021. The community presented a list of 14 items of concern printed on red paper. An action plan was developed from that list, and we were promised follow-up meetings to discuss the progress or lack of progress. Things went as promised, and productive follow-up meetings were held. That changed last fall. For some reason, it was decided that the city no longer had to talk to the community about the community's concerns. They only had to talk to city council. They produced a written update for city council that was not discussed with the community and was not even sent to the community. We found out a few days ago that another such report was written for city council by people who were not informed of the history and did not know that update meetings with community leaders were promised. Nicole Travis responded immediately and is in the process of scheduling a meeting with the relevant departments, and we appreciate her prompt attention to correcting this bewildering exclusion of the neighborhoods in discussions about problems the neighborhoods brought to the city's attention. In the meantime, we want you to know that we disagree with and have significant feedback on items 3, 4, 5, 12, and 14 in the update you were given for today, and those items will be changing after our meeting. I also want to comment on item 28. I don't understand this at all. I do not like this apparent carte blanche to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on 26 different high-priced law firms. I do not understand why the city's ethics commission was not asked to investigate allegations before $98,000 was spent on an expensive law firm. Half of the entire sidewalk fund has been spent on a matter that did not go before the ethics committee before any tax dollars were spent, and did not involve a lawsuit against the city. Instead of pre-approval to spend what adds up to like $2.6 million a year on white shoe firms, I'd like the city to protect our city council members. Most council members are forced to make the sacrifice of working 2 full-time jobs to serve the citizens of Tampa. Good, courageous, independent people are not going to step up if they fear financial ruin because of lawsuits for doing their job. If the only way to avoid strategic lawsuits, whose purpose is to remove obstacles in the path of the rich and the powerful, is to be a mouthpiece for the rich and the powerful, the city will suffer, the citizens will suffer, and Tampa will no longer have a democracy that represents the people who are not rich and powerful. I agree with the woman who just spoke in person. I was so happy with this new city council when I saw the courage and good work. That should not result in fear. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Strohmeyer, are you there?
Yes. Okay. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Jean Strohmeyer, and I echo what Stephanie and Carol Ann said about the list of 14. I'm in SOG for 30 years. I've been in Tampa since 1970. And I also echo the gentleman that speaks about the Dingfelder matter and how that went down. And Mr. Goods, we support you, Mr. Goods. And, you know, he's a cop. He's not a politician like the administration is. So just remember that. He's here to help us out. I'm going to talk about some of the items real quickly. Item 8 on single districting. I met with some of them folks, and actually one of the guys that I met with, I'm not going to call his name out, he did not know that we in the United States is we're a republic, not a democracy. And he said, what's the difference? So we need to explain that to people. Number 9, sidewalk cafes. I love it. I think those are great. It's nice to go bike riding or walking and be able to stop and have a cold drink or something. Number 11, 12, you want more money for high drug traffic areas. Drop the drug dispensary. Stop approving a drug dispensary on every corner. They're everywhere. What's going to promote drugs? Drug dispensaries. I don't care what you call it. It is what it is. It's a drug dispensary. So we spent more money on the cops, but yet crime has risen. So don't spend any more money on ridiculousness. Number 15, a lot of sod and grass. That stops at SOG. Why does it stop south of Gandy? We don't get any grass. Tampa City Council getting that much, the lawyers for the city, and I understand it to be that there's, the total combined lawyers get $100,000 for the year, but I'm not sure. Maybe I read it wrong. So that's just a lot of money that we could fill some potholes with. Number 31, the AIDS thing. We've got that grant, but we're paying for Pinellas County. Not sure what that is. Please ask. There's 37 West Shore Extension. Not sure where that is because I didn't get to look at that a little bit closer. There's an O'Brien, number 39, improvement fund. What about South Times? What about Bay Avenue in south of Gandy? How come we don't get an improvement fund? Interbay, there's a $400,000 cleaning, for landscaping. What about south of Gandy? Do we get any landscaping or cleaning? It doesn't look like we do, but they get $400,000. Having a landlord have to give 60 days to increase rent, but that's in between a lease, you can't increase rent. So you're just going to have people, basically, they're going to be dropping leases so they can get somebody else in. So I don't know. I think you're going to have unintended consequences. Number 66, apprenticeship. I like apprenticeship, but if there's nobody to fill the job there and the extension of contractors, then somebody's going to get punished. I think y'all need to look into unintended consequences with that as well. And then number 7, reduce permitting that just seems to me that it favors the developers. They already get what they want when they want it with this city. So, and they also get to unseat city council people at their will. God bless you all. I love you guys. Have a great day. And I pray for you every day.
Thank you, Mr. Omar. Is that all the public comment? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I make a statement?
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, just in reaction to some of the public comments and other comments that we've been getting. First, and this is in regard to the situation with City Council Member Goods. The claimant, if the claimant deserves due process, and if the allegations that the claimant has made are true, then the claimant deserves to get any kind of compensation or other award for that. However, the accused, Orlando Goods, also deserves due process. I don't believe that he was given due process by the city. I'm not an attorney or an investigator, but as there were lots of comments that were made just now, the mayor sending an apology letter when there has not been a trial and there has not been a lawsuit, it's pretty despicable that would happen. Jumping to conclusions about it based on interviews by a law firm that was paid by a political appointee in the legal department is not due process. Again, if it turns out that these accusations are true, the claimant deserves all of this. But what really bothers me, the private sector is going to do whatever the private sector will do, but what bothers me is the use of taxpayer dollars, not just to pay these things, $100,000 to a law firm, but to pay and use city staff, I believe inappropriately, to attack city council members. We saw that in the Dingfelder situation, the city staff were complicit. It's been proven through public record the city staff were involved in it. If city staff or the mayor wants to play dirty politics, do it outside of city hours. Don't do it on behalf of the city. Don't call reporters and leak information and leak documents. How do we know this with Orlando Goods? When the news was first released about him, it was sent in a press release by the administration just before the TV cameras. So Mr. Goods did not have a chance to respond. His attorney didn't have a chance to respond, and none of us even knew what it was. I think I got a little briefing about an hour before. And then, and so it hit the news without any chance to respond. That's not due process. That's a political publicity stunt. And then information was released every day for 7 days. Why is it that most media outlets, the Times and others, it takes 60 days to get a response to a public records request? But somehow, on Wednesday of that week, the press release went on Monday. On Wednesday, all the media had a copy of the Trenum bill that said it was $100,000. How did that happen? We were being transparent. That's what the legal department says. No, it's not. Well, everything else takes 60 days. Any public records request regarding the mayor takes 60 days, but somehow you all had the files ready to go one day after another, so you get 7 repeated days of stories about Orlando Goods. That's not due process. And worse, the claimant was embarrassed. And I haven't talked to the claimant, but we were all friends with the claimant before the transfer. And in the press release, there was identifying information about the claimant. And on the cover, it says it's a misdemeanor to mention the name. Why is it not a misdemeanor to mention the gender and the title? Because everybody knew who the person was. Why would the mayor do it? If the mayor's worried about how the claimant feels, why would the mayor allow a press release to be sent out that identifies who the person was? That is despicable. You don't do that to somebody. You're using a situation that someone has allegedly been a victim. You're using it for dirty political purposes. It's really gross. And 7 days of story. And then guess what? Guess who the first person is that tweets all these negative stories? The night that John Dingfelder, the story came out about 10 o'clock that he had resigned. Guess who the first person was to tweet that story 5 minutes later? This person most likely was sitting at home in his underwear with nothing to do on a Friday night because he doesn't have any friends.
Councilman Carlson.
And he tweeted.
Carlson, could you please wrap this up?
Sure. Please. And it was Bob Buckhorn. He's the one that tweeted out every one of these stories. Last night he tweeted stories out about Orlando Good. What does he have to do with this? He's a lobbyist now. Does he have clients that are related to this? The public deserves to know. The mayor says we need transparency and accountability. Let's bring it in. The mayor, during this whole time, the mayor got a letter from the United States Justice Department.
Councilman Carlson, can you wrap this up,
I think
please?
I have 5 minutes, right? The mayor got a letter from the United States Justice Department and didn't tell us. The letter came in December and did not tell us. That is one of the most important things that's happened in this city, and we're spending time talking about one city council member who's missing a few text messages and had to resign because of it. Where is the transparency and accountability? What we need to do is make sure that this administration is not misusing public dollars and public staff for political purposes and for dirty political purposes. If the claimant really experienced these things, the claimant deserves whatever the claimant deserves. But the city, the mayor, and the city staff cannot be misused to attack city council for political purposes. If they continue, I'm going to propose that the city council use their investigative authority to find out who's doing it, why, and who ordered it. You know, it took us several months just to find out who made the decision to not put Hannah Avenue out for a bid, and guess who made it? The mayor. Thank you.
Councilman Carlson. Councilman Carlson, you have made a lot of statements. Are you willing to take those to the DOJ? Yes. Do you want to take them to the FDLE?
Please.
I'm very happy to. Unfortunately, law enforcement agencies won't talk to elected officials, but they'll talk to community members. Believe me, I've tried.
And I understand that you seem very, very concerned about this, and your zeal is strong. Please present that to the FDOJ and to the FDLE and maybe some other legal officials.
Thank you, I will. I have, and I will.
Thank you. Let's go on to item number 64.
Good morning, City Council. Brad Baird, Deputy Administrator of Infrastructure. I'm here to address item 64, which is purchase of liquid methanol for the wastewater department for use in their treatment process. I've written a memo on it, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Any comments? This is for a 2-year contract?
This is for an additional 1-year period. The existing contract was a one-year contract that expires in next month, June of this year. So this $4 million purchase would take us to June of 2023.
And there have been bids on this from different
was.
corporations, and
Yes,
and this is time sensitive.
this is time sensitive, yes, sir.
Move the resolution.
Second. We have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Vieira. Roll call vote.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Vieira. Maniscalco. Miranda.
Yes.
Hurtak. Yes. And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And are we hearing, we're hearing 67?
Yeah, I'm Morris Massey, in connection with item 67. I submitted a memo with some recommended rules, changes to our CCNA rules to increase transparency and to put limitations on the ability to increase project scope. I can run through those. I'll be happy to go through those with you all this morning. Relative to the transparency issue, we're recommending that the rules be changed to require publication of the announcement of the need for design-build services at least 30 days prior to the deadline for submission of proposals or qualifications. Require publication on the city's website through Demand Star. In addition, right now, all we do is, legally we do more, but we do more, but legally all we are required to do is to publish an ad. So we're suggesting that these be legal requirements on top of what we do by publication. Require publication online on the city's website through Demand Star, and also require that a list of qualified and certified WMBE and SLBE design build firms be maintained by the Contract Administration Department, and all of those firms be separately notified of a request for proposals or qualifications for a design build project by email. So that's what we're suggesting in regards to transparency. Regarding the issue about the growth or putting limitations on the ability to increase the scope of a project, we are suggesting that rules be adopted that would prohibit cardinal or material changes, and those would include changes to the design criteria package or plans and specifications for a project that would result in a land use change, site enlargement or relocation, facility use change, change of a primary utility being constructed, or more than doubling the length of a utility project. We're also suggesting that a cardinal or material change would be a change to the design criteria package or plans for a project that causes the cost of a project to increase more than twice the budget amount or engineer's estimate that's advertised in the request for proposal or qualifications for the selection of a design build firm for a project. And we're also encouraging that cardinal material changes also be defined as an interruption in or a stop work order in connection with a project subject to a design build contract of 3 years or more. There would be some exceptions for force majeure type of things that are totally beyond the city's control. For instance, we're not changing the project at all, but with the inflation, the cost of material goes up substantially. That may have an impact on the cost of the project. That type of thing would be a force majeure type of change. But other than that, if we're changing our plans and that would double the cost of the project, then that would have to go back to the CCNA process again, is what we're suggesting. Any questions?
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, thank you for doing that, and thanks to whoever else worked on it. The most important thing to me is the doubling of the price. So if the price doubles, you said it has to go through CCNA process again.
Yes, sir.
And that includes that it has to come back before council.
Yeah, there would be a new contract, and we'd have to go back, we'd have to negate the existing contract, and we'd come back for you all, yes.
Okay, and are we approving this today?
No, I did this in a memo format just so that we could talk about it, and if you all want us to move forward with the formally adopting those rule changes, I will make sure that that's brought forward and to you guys for review.
I appreciate putting in double. I wish it was less than that. I wish it was like 20% or something, but you'll have to look at what's reasonable too. I wish it was 20 or 50%.
We did look at some case law. I did look at some case law in connection with this, and cardinal changes in construction projects, it's never really been addressed in a CCNA situation, but it has been addressed in connection with federal construction projects. And what the courts have typically looked at is if you're doubling the cost of a project, they typically say that is probably changing the scope of the project. If it's less than twice the amount, they believe, the courts tend to say that that tends to be within the scope. So that's why we took that point.
But thank you for putting that in.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Mr. Massey. Item number 68. I'm sorry? Oh, that's right. Stephen Benson is out of the country. Ms. Travis. Lucky man.
Good morning, Council. Nicole Travis, Administrator of Development and Economic Opportunity. There was a memo submitted regarding this item, but as you heard through the public comments that there were several questions. I am scheduling a meeting with the stakeholders, external and internal, to answer the questions. So I'd ask that if you wanted to make a motion, we can bring that back to you, an update. Allow me 60 days to come back. This is number 68 with the SOG items. We've been providing updates regularly on this, but there are a few items that I think that are unresolved from the citizens side, and I just think that we need to meet and figure out how we can answer those questions for them. I'll be happy to come back with another update.
Mr. Chair, it says on here it says on here the next quarterly update is August 25th. So
that'd be perfectly. That's enough
25th?
time.
We don't need to make a motion for that, right?
No, we'll be back on there.
All right.
Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you. Item number 70. Good morning, Ms. Feely.
Good morning, Council. Abby Feely, Director of Development and Growth Management. I am here on item number 70. I do have a presentation. I know we're working to keep staff reports to about 5 minutes, so I'll do my best. It's pretty quick. This was a motion that was made by Councilman Carlson and seconded by Councilman Miranda related to what we are doing, the development staff is doing to reduce time for permitting and land use applications before they get to City Council. I did place a call to Councilman Carlson just for some clarification. I believe the concern was more related to items that come to you, which would not be permits, but the applications that you hear either on appeal or in your quasi-judicial matters. I did, however, structure my presentation quickly to talk about the Construction Services Division, and then I will go on to the Development Coordination Division. Our Construction Services Division has 94 members. It has 45 that do client facilitation and plan review, so that's all your permit intake and also your permit reviews. We have 39 inspectors. And we have the Construction Activity Compliance Team, which was just created. That's a 4-member team. You may recall recently passing modifications to the code to allow for them to actually do that job. And then we have the administration of 6. Right now, just so you can see, we're processing roughly 21 to 23,000 permits annually. And there's a breakdown for you there of our residential permits versus our commercial permits and the permit value. So far in fiscal year 2022, we are at 12,776 permits, and that's since October 1. So with a rough estimate of $1.146 billion so far this year. We have several more months to go in the fiscal year, but this just gives you an idea of the pure volume that's being processed. We're very fortunate to have a couple different systems of metrics. We have OpenGov, which is available on the city's website. This will show you at any time what's being processed by our division on a monthly basis, and a breakdown by commercial construction, multifamily construction permits. And in addition to this, we have another tool which is called Power BI, and I leave this on my desktop every day, and I can see what my team is doing, how long it's taking, where we're being responsive to the clients, where the clients are being responsive to us, how many tasks are running with the permits that we're operating, and this is with the fiscal year 22, and this is live time. As I mentioned, none of those matters come before council, so in relationship to timing or reduction of timing, I think we're more focused on the rezoning applications, the special use applications, alcoholic beverage, and then any appeals that you may hear. So in Eric's team, that's the development coordination team, there are 30 FTEs, and I have a brief breakdown there. This is the team that's really responsible for everything that gets to you. So on that, I did also want to just kind of show you what that work of the 30 members looks like. And here is a breakdown of the applications. So we have in the last fiscal year, 2021, that team processed 1,800 applications. You can see below that the rezonings, there were 135 rezonings. There were 10 special use 2 applications. Those come before you. Those are like drive-through windows or ALFs. And then alcoholic beverage, there were 32. When you look at that number there, the 135 plus the 10 plus the 32, and we're roughly in the 170 zone there, you take 10 new cases a month for your rezonings. Well, 10 cases and 135 in 12 months, we're going to not have enough spaces for those cases. Some of those cases, miss notice, drop off, continue, withdraw. I mean, there's other things that happen, and that's kind of where we've seen the backlog. You'll see over the past 5 years that has varied. Last year was the highest, and some of that may have been due to COVID and the delay of processing projects. But I just wanted to go ahead and show you that, and then also just make you aware that we had come to you in July, we had come to you in October, and I just came to you again in March talking about caseload, what we needed to do, and you did add additional hearings. I went ahead just to show you that several of the stages in our process are codified, and I can't make those quicker. The code says you come in, you go to development review committee.
Please continue.
Thank you, I'm almost done, I have 2 more slides. You go to the development review committee 30 days after your application is submitted. You then get 30 days to resubmit. So right there is 60 days, I can't make that happen any faster. You go to public notice, that also requires 30 days. So now I'm at a 90-day process. The schedule you see here, now that we added the additional nights, if you were to submit on May 23rd, your tentative hearing date is September 8th. And that is roughly 109 days. Our process is pretty fast. We're still leaps and bounds around municipalities around us in timing and getting things going. With the addition of the extra hearings, we were able to move people up 30 to 45 days. And right now, we still have openings on the October 6th hearing cycle, and we are working to continue to expedite anybody that is in the process. And with the addition of the December 1st date, I still feel confident that we are going to be able to balance those caseloads. And through the reassignment, we've only been shooting to put that 8 to 10 to keep those nights moving smoothly for you as well. We've sent out correspondence to all the applicants, asked them, let them know we have now moved their cases up, and unless we hear otherwise, they will now be processed on that case cycle. If they wish to retain the date they were on later out, we're happy to accommodate that as well. So I mentioned the 109 days, that's roughly where we are. With the inclusion of the new nights, we've been able to bump things up. The last thing I just wanted to talk about was when I came to you asking for additional evenings, I also came to you saying that I want to know what's going on. Why are we now at 135 cases for rezoning when we've been at less over the years? Is it just pure demand based on development? Or is it that there are opportunities within our code to be able to make some modifications and alleviate some of those cases that are coming to you? And that's my last bullet here, is that we're going to continue to look at that, and we will bring that back to you. If there are some minor modifications that can be made in the code that I know as a council you are approving and that are good planning for our city, we will do that, and I'll bring those back to you, have that discussion that may also balance timeframes related to these cases.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Councilman Carlson?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for going through this. You know, some folks in the media, especially the Business Journal, criticize City Council and says, why is City Council taking so long on all these? And when you all came to us and said you want to add more dates, every time you come, we've added all the dates that you wanted. And so based on what I'm hearing from you and also from the development community, we might need to add 2 or 3 more. But we want to do our part. We're willing to put in extra time to do our part on this. But most of the complaints I get are about permitting and the process that they go through before they get to us. They say that it takes so long to get through the upfront process. By the time it, and I'm not talking about specific cases, just talking about process in general, by the time they get assigned a date with city council, then it's far out and they get doubly frustrated for that. So we can add more dates. And I know this is not a problem that you inherited. Part of the reason why Mayor and Carol, I think, brought you in is to try to fix these issues, and the reason why Nicole is here is to try to fix these issues. But it seems like we need to speed up the upfront process, and permitting especially is where I get a lot of complaints. It's the time that it takes. Also, we hear even now reports about decisions being arbitrary. Somebody comes in and makes a decision or recommendation, somebody else comes in later and undoes that. And I think you had talked either in the meeting or offline about how if somebody only meets part of the criteria, maybe one thing you can do is just be completely transparent in the beginning and tell them all the things as to why they're not going to get a permit so they can address all of it at once. I mean, those kinds of things can solve it because we need to set expectations, but we also need to guide through the process. We need to make sure that we're not arbitrary, and we need to make sure that we're not inconsistent in the way we approach it. Two other quick things. A specific complaint, and not about a specific project, but just in general, is apparently there's some rule that treats, now that a lot of people are shifting to open office concepts, that somehow that triggers a city code that covers, that calls it an auditorium. And we know because of COVID especially, and because of changing interests, that more and more offices will be changing to open office concepts. And if that doesn't exist, then forget about it. If it does, if you wouldn't mind figuring that out and bringing it back to us, that's an example of code we could change to redefine what an office means. But if it triggers something about an auditorium, if an auditorium causes you to have 10 bathrooms where an open office would only require you to have 2, then we need to fix that because we don't want to unduly burden the people trying to build the offices and other stuff. The other thing is there's a state law apparently, section 166-033 that says there's a maximum 180-day process, and there's some folks that are saying now because the city's not going to hit that, they're indirectly threatening litigation if we don't hit that. And so it's not only that we need to be fair to everybody, and there's also, by the way, allegations that certain people get moved through quickly and certain people don't. We need to make sure that we're consistent across size of organizations, the types of organizations, the lobbyists that they pick, et cetera, so that we're fair to everybody. But if you could help us address that, it'd be great. And if it looks like we need 2 or 3 more meetings, please let us know, because we want to do our part to move things faster. Thank you.
Councilman Goods.
Mr. Carlson hit on one point. I think, Ms. Freeman, we talked about that the process in the beginning, people going back, and taking all that time, and then calling us because saying you guys didn't do your job, and sometimes it's really them or their contractors or architects that didn't do your job. So we have to place the blame where it really is. But I think that if I'm coming to somebody, I think it should be a process to where if I'm bringing my design, my whatever, to the permit party, it should be someone there to say, hey, you're not ready yet. You're not ready yet. And then they go back when they come back ready versus we're cutting paste. Okay, we'll take this, we'll send this, we'll do that. And again, it's putting other people behind, and now it's wasting more staff time going back to more people again and again and again. So I know some people might be upset if you change a process in the beginning, but I think you may have to look at changing maybe that process, that upfront process, and people will eventually catch on. It's like anything. Well, they're changing the process, but they'll eventually catch on, and they'll go ahead and do what's right to do. But I think because our phones ring, especially mine, everybody calls District 5, you know that, and to me, I think when I go out, and I do go out, Coco's still waiting on me. That's a call I got this morning before I came in, so I'm going to need information on that. But I guess the people, sometimes you don't know to know, and then again, you get one inspector goes out there and says this, and it goes for the next one. No, it's like, well, he just told me. So I just think maybe the upfront process might be the best process than going back.
Thank you. If I can respond to that for just a moment, and we have been in discussions with that. Most recently, we did publish permit guides. We now have permit guides available that talk to the minimums that you would need. But I am working with my team to institute sufficiency when permits are coming in. And to our own detriment, I think we've been a city that has, work to support development and let things come in the door. And that has now caused 2 and 3 and 4 reviews because they're not coming in with the minimum criteria that they need to have a full permit review. I'm working with JC, our building official, and we are going to institute sufficiency, and basically we would then put those people on notice that what you have submitted for your permit at this time is insufficient. You need X, Y, and Z. And when you put X, Y, and Z together and you go ahead and submit your permit, we'll be happy to then process it through. But what you see is, and I think I've mentioned this, a permit comes in, they may be missing their mechanical, electrical, and plumbing sheet. They may be missing their Florida product approved sheet. And so they have their first review basically tells them you're missing X, Y, and Z. Then when the full review comes in, they get a full review and now they have 30 comments. Well, you do because you're finally getting the full review based on the information that was needed. So we are working on that, and we will be, we have professional advisory groups quarterly with different groups in the industry. We will be messaging that out, that we are going to begin that. And we're looking at probably an August 1st date to start that. To allow some time to message out that that is what is coming, and you'll be given a notice of sufficiency related to your permit. So we are working on that now and hope to launch that. I did want to respond to Councilman Carlson's other comment about the open office space. We are aware of that, and we are working on that. That should not be an issue for any office that wants to come to Tampa and have an open office concept. So thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Ms. Feely, thank you. You articulated some of the things that I wanted to say so well. 75% of the time when people come to me and say, what is taking so long, I have to tell them, well, you didn't fill out the permitting properly, you didn't talk with your subcontractors, you didn't. So that is what I have to tell them. Prior, we had talked about administratively taking care of a 10% difference. That if a building is 35 foot high and they just want to go a little over that, administratively, that could be taken care of instead of coming before us?
The design exception process does allow for that now. I think what we had brought a while back was the lot splits and a potential to administratively do a lot split if it was within a certain percentage, and that was not found favorably by council. So those lot splits are still coming before you. But that's another, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and work with Eric. We're going to go through and see, you know, sometimes it's simply just a local street access waiver. That's all they need, and they're going through a 110-day process to get that. So I'd like to put that hit list together, maybe the top 3 to 5 items, let you look at that. We can evaluate that and see if there are code changes that would be able to accommodate that.
I would like to hear that. Thank you, Ms. Feely.
Thank you.
Item number 71.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Council. Dennis Rajero, Chief Financial Officer. On item number 71, we appreciate the offer and the opportunity, but the administration feels that the Citizens Budget Advisory Committee has been and remains in essence a city council committee. We feel the arrangement, and I can tell you from my perspective, we feel it's been very productive. We're happy to continue being a supporting partner, and I think we work well together.
Councilman Carlson's not here. Councilman Miranda, did you have any questions you want to ask this?
Yeah.
Councilman Goods.
You believe it's being productive now, sir?
I'm sorry, sir.
You believe now with the board you have now, it's productive now?
I do. They're, as you know, they're gearing up to begin their budget preparation meetings at the beginning of next month. And they've, from what I've seen, they've got an incremental and steady plan to continue meeting throughout the process.
All right, so in other words, the administration doesn't want anyone from administration on the budget committee. My understanding, you just said, and 2, I know Mr. Shelby's not here, but I know they're getting ready to make some changes in the budget committee themselves because they operate under the sunshine. There are some issues going on to do that. So we're talking 2 different issues, but Mr. Shelby's not here to discuss them. That was Mr. Carlson's idea to put them on there. I do think that, I think maybe now, that in the beginning, the administration wasn't really working with the Budget Committee, but I think once the relationship kind of got together moving, I think Mr. Johnson is kind of working out now a little bit, from my understanding. Make sure they're getting information, make sure they're meeting with the right departments, and not getting the door slammed in their face now. So my understanding, so I'm hoping that will continue. I know we've been number one here in all these financial situations here, which is great, but still the Budget Advisory Committee, you know, under the council, want to make sure still that they're able to see what's going on and be able to report to council and the citizens.
I appreciate that, sir, and I agree. There were some speed bumps, but I think we've gotten into a rhythm, and we'll get that rhythm going again during this budget prep process.
Any other comments? Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, sorry, I missed the front. You said the mayor does not want 2 positions on there?
She does not, sir.
Does not. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, council.
And Mr. Spearman, you've got 72?
Brad Bear, Deputy Administrator of Infrastructure, here on item 72. This item goes back to a presentation made by Mr. Spearman in September of 2021 on single and sole sourcing. It has been continued several times to this date, and I have provided several memos on it that to the effect that the Contract Administration Department and the Real Estate Division does not engage in single and sole source procurement. However, the discussion through those continuations morphed into a review and a presentation associated with more guidelines and constraints around the CCNA process, which Mr. Morris Massey addressed in item 67. So with that, the administration and staff feel that we have fulfilled Councilman Carlson's request.
Councilman Carlson, do you have any comments or any questions?
Just, yeah, through the process we did, on the Hannah Avenue project, we found a kind of loophole where legal says technically it followed the process. We did not get an outside attorney to look at it, but through that process, it sounds like we're updating CCNA. Everyone that comes back that says that we can only buy from this source because we already have their other equipment, I always look at those carefully. I would just encourage everyone to, you know, the mayor talked about transparency and accountability. Let's make sure that we're being transparent and accountable in all these purchasing processes, and that we're fully explaining to the public why we picked one company over another. The complaints are mostly in the services area, not in products. So.
Thank you. Yes, sir. We will do
The point is that if we, you know, if our pothole budget is $5 million a year, and through competitive bids on projects like Hannah Avenue, we save $5 million, that doubles our pothole budget, and the citizens really want us to fill potholes. And the same thing with sidewalks. They say that their neighborhoods are not safe because they don't have sidewalks. So I heard that in the testimony of some of the issues we're going to hear today. And if we saved $600,000 by putting something out for bid, that doubles our sidewalk budget for the year. So these things are really important, and the public doesn't want us to raise taxes or fees. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Mr. Spearman.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 73. Now, I'm Mr. Spearman. Thank you.
Good morning, City Council. Greg Spearman, the Purchasing Director. We also have with us Ms. Marcella Hamilton from the Legal Department. We do have a brief PowerPoint that was included in your packet in addition to a memo that came from Ms. Hamilton through the Chief of Staff to City Council dated April the 25th. So if we can bring up the PowerPoint. Go to the first slide, please. Next slide. I'm supposed to do that. Okay. So basically, I just want to give you an overview of what Ms. Hamilton had presented to you in her memo. So having a minimum wage of $15 per hour for future contracts for the City of Tampa is legally permissible. However, state and federal regulations, statutes may limit such a requirement for contracts that are funded or receive assistance from the state or federal government. So there are certain policy decisions that would have to be considered. For an example, rationale for recommended rate per hour, applicable contract types, annual cost to the city, indexing hourly rates in future years, rate variation based on employee-provided benefits, enforcement, and also monitoring. So the Fair Labor Standards Act has established a current pay rate of $7.25 per hour. So it includes exemption from federal minimum wage provisions, but in general, an employer must pay its covered non-exempt employees the federal minimum wage. The state, however, may set the rate higher than the federal minimum wage, but not lower. So in cases where an employee is subject to both the state and the federal minimum wage, the employee is entitled to the higher of the two minimum wages. Okay, Florida has a higher minimum wage than the federal government. The state minimum wage requirement is currently at $10 per hour, which will increase $1 every September 30th until September 30th, 2026, when the rate will be $15 per hour. So thereafter, the rate will be increased using indexing that's provided for in the statute. Now, statutory restrictions, there are some state constitution grant municipalities, such as the city of Tampa, the power to enact ordinances with some exceptions. A local government may not enact an ordinance if state legislature expressly prohibits such an enactment. Such a state pre-exemption exists which prohibits political subdivisions, including municipalities, from establishing minimum wage levels within their jurisdiction. The law, however, specifically does not limit the authority of a municipality to establish a minimum wage for employees of an employer contracting to provide goods or services for that municipality, or for the employees of a subcontractor of such an employer under the terms of the contract. The law, however, does not apply if it would prevent the receipt of federal funds. Now, the Davis-Bacon Act, which more applies to the CCNA process, would apply federal funded or assisted contracts in excess of $2,000 for construction, alteration, repair of public buildings or public works. In those particular instances, employees must be paid the locally prevailing wage for corresponding work on similar projects in the area. So another state pre-exemption indicates that contracts for a public works project may not require that a contractor, subcontractor, or material supplier pay employees a predetermined amount of wages or prescribed any wage rate. So the city may enact an ordinance establishing a minimum wage rate for future contracts, but there are exemptions from the imposition of such a local minimum wage. These would include, obviously, we just mentioned, state-funded public works contract and also those federally funded contracts under Davis-Bacon. Now, the state of Florida has implemented a minimum wage requirement. This minimum wage requirement takes effect on September 30th, beginning at $11 per hour, and will increase $1 per hour every year on September 30th until we reach the $15 per hour in 2026. The city already mandates that all of our contractors comply with state law, except those that are funded with federal funding. So the recommendation is that we follow the state guidelines in terms of contract increases, which begins this coming September 30th at $11 per hour, and then culminates September 30th, 2026 at $15 per hour. So I'll be happy to answer any questions for you, along with Ms. Hamilton, who is also here with me.
Any comments or questions? Thank you, Mr. Spearman.
Thank you.
Okay. That looks as if it's going to do us for the staff reports, except for items number 62, 63, and 76, which will be heard at 1:30 when we come back from our break. So let's go to agenda item number 9.
Good morning, Council. Eric Cotton from Development Coordination. With me is Melanie Calloway. This is the first reading of an ordinance to amend Chapter 22 pertaining to sidewalk cafes and street cafes. This was introduced to you last month during the workshop hearing. The proposed language is an outgrowth of the Lift Up Local program that was instituted during the COVID-19 pandemic. That's set to expire on June 30th. The request is to have this adopted before that time frame, but that allowed us for establishments to open up more outdoor seating areas as a result of the decreased capacity that was allowed indoors. In this specific case, this is going to allow restaurants who have an approved sidewalk cafe permit to utilize portions of the street right of way, the actual parking areas, to expand their area. It's creating specific standards for that, including the type of platform, the seating, the arrangements, what can be in that street cafe area. The amendment will also allow for, right now, the only places that can get sidewalk cafe permits are downtown, Ybor, and the Channel District. This will allow sidewalk cafes to be permitted anywhere else in the city. Right now, if I am in Hyde Park or I am in another section of town in West Tampa and I want to do a sidewalk cafe, I need to apply. The application is denied. The appeal goes to City Council for Council to approve. On average, I believe you get one per year. So this will take away that need to go through the appeals process and allow staff to approve it at the staff level. That's a quick summary. Again, this is just the first reading. Second reading will be held, depending upon Council's vote today, in 2 weeks. Does Council have any changes, any questions of the proposed changes?
Any comments or questions? No. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make comment on this?
Close, second.
Motion to close by Councilman Maniscalco.
There's no public hearing. This is just first reading, and so the ordinance does need the title needs to be read in full. So.
Thank you. Councilman Carlson.
Yes, sir, thank you. I'd like to move file number E2022-8, CH22, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida relating to street cafes, making revisions to City of Tampa Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Streets and Sidewalks, amending Section 22-5, definitions, amending Section 22-223, administrative authority, amending Section 22-224, establishment authorized to operate sidewalks, cafes, application criteria, review and approval procedures, amendment Section 22-225, permit issuance, amending Section 22-226, conditions of permit, amending Section 22-227, operational guidelines, amending Section 22-228, revocation or suspension of permit, amending Section 22-229, permit renewal, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for severability, providing effective date.
Motion made by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Hurtak?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
Vieira? And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Vieira being absent at vote. Second reading and adoption is to be held on June 16, 2022 at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cotton.
Thank you, Council.
Councilman Miranda, can you read items number 10 through 14 for public safety?
Yes, sir, I will. Chairman, move items 10 through 14.
Motion has been made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Goods. Roll call. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Councilman Goods, can you read Parks and Recreations, items 15 through 17?
Mr. Chair, I need to recuse myself from number 17 because my company works with the school district.
Works with who? I'm sorry?
School district, School Board of Hillsborough County. So could we just vote on 15 and 16 and then I'll step out for 17 and I'll file my form next week.
Councilman Goods.
15, 16.
Motion's been made by Councilman Goods, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
And by the way, I should state that my firm does not work on this issue.
I don't think you have to leave the room, but I think it does need to reflect that he's not voting on this item, so.
Item 17.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilman Goods, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Motion carried unanimously with Carlson abstaining and Vieira being absent at vote.
Thank you. Ms. Hurtak, Public Works Committee, items 18 through 24.
I move to approve items 18 through 24.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilwoman Hurtak, seconded by Councilman Morant. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I also need to recuse myself on number 28, just an abundance of caution. One of my firms that I personally use and that my firm uses in this list, and it's just better not to vote on that. That's number 28.
And before council votes on these items, it might be helpful for me to address some of the questions that were raised at public comment on item 28, just to clarify things. You are not approving $2.6 million worth of legal work. Each of the contracts have a $100,000 cap, but in addition to the cap that's in the contract, it's subject to what we have in our annual budget in the legal department. Right now, our annual budget, we have about maybe $200,000, $250,000 allotted for outside counsel work. There's also some money that's allotted through the risk department to cover claims. But those all are subject to budget approval by you, so that through the budgetary process, it also caps what you are going to be paying in the way of outside legal services. So I just want to make sure everyone's clear on that, so you're not approving by virtue of approving these contracts. The other thing I wanted to clarify is that the reason why there are so many firms in this list is for the first time ever, the City of Tampa Legal Department, through purchasing, put out an RFQ to seek other law firms. Traditionally, the legal department has engaged firms that have traditionally provided legal services to the City of Tampa. We thought it was important to try to reach out into the community and get other small firms that are minority owned or women owned law firms, to also contract with us and to try to distribute our legal work more broadly in the legal community. And so that's the reason why there's 26 law firms in the list. So just wanted to clarify that.
Councilman Carlson.
Just a clarifying question. When the city engages them, but before it spends $1 with them, by Florida bar rules, are they conflicted out from working on matters against the city or with the city? Or
there's a provision in the contract. There's a form, and that's another reason we're doing this. We have different form contracts at every law firm with different caps and amounts. So we're trying to have a uniform contract that we use for all our outside counsel. There's a conflict of interest section in the contract that it does not. I mean, for instance, law firms that are on this list, you will see them also come here and represent clients on zoning matters. They are not conflicted from coming and appearing before you all on routine matters or routine matters before the board. Now, they are conflicted out of representing clients in a matter directly adverse to the City of Tampa without it getting cleared to the legal department and making sure it complies with Florida bar rules.
even if the city hasn't spent $1 with them yet?
If they undertook a matter that is in conflict with the city, then we would not engage them for outside legal services until that matter.
And the firms listed.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Chairman. The firms listed are also into their specialty that they want to comply with that area only, not.
Yes, sir.
Not from A to Z, just what they normally do.
No, there's specific areas. We had 14 or 15 specific areas in our RFQ, and so these law firms are qualified for individual specific areas. So it's not that they could represent the city in any matter. So.
Do you want me to step out now, or do you want to vote on the others first?
Well, the motion has to be made, so if you'd like to step out now, I'm sure that the motion maker will bifurcate these.
Chairman, I move items 25 to 30. I know 28's been explained, so I'm going to move that, including in the motion.
Second.
The motion has been made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Discussion.
Aye. No, roll call.
Roll call vote, excuse me.
Discussion.
Goods?
Excuse me, Councilman Goods?
You know, I wasn't gonna support this, but after Mr. Massey gave me a little more details, because I was not gonna support this, because and my main thing was conflict of interest in the attorney's office. You know, you're paying somebody, they do what you tell them to do. So I want to just make sure, when you explain that, what the parameters with this, but I'll go ahead and support it, but I was not gonna support it previously.
Roll call vote.
Goods?
Yes.
Viera?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Hurtak?
Yes.
And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Carlson abstaining.
Thank you. Building and Zoning Preservation, Councilman Carlson. Agenda items number 31 through 43.
Yes, sir, I'd like to move 31 through 43.
Motion made by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Is any opposed? Thank you. Transportation Committee, Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank
Items
you.
40, 44, and 45.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I move items 44 and 45.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye. Move to open all 9:30 and 10:30 public hearing.
Motion's been made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Item agenda number 46, file number E2022-8, Chapter 12.
Rebecca John, City Attorney's Office. This is the second reading on the ordinance that would provide, number one, an extension to the time frame to terminate month-to-month leases from 15 days to 30 days, and it would provide for a landlord to provide 60 days notice before raising the rent at the end of a term when the lease is expiring. I do believe that all of you received a letter from the Bay Area Apartment Association with their objections to, or their concerns to this ordinance. So I just wanted to address a few of those concerns. The first is they are alleging that this constitutes impairment. Impairment is when the government would do something that would impair or impede the obligations under a lease from being performed. We don't believe this is impairment because we're not affecting leases as they're occurring right now. We're affecting the notice provisions for the lease in the future. So we're not affecting any of the ongoing obligations of the current lease. So we don't believe that this is impairment. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong list. The other objections they have were not legal objections. Those were policy decisions. The first one was they had a concern about the time for terminating the month-to-month lease. They are looking for it to be somewhere between 15 and 30 days. I had put it at 30 days, as I explained last time, because that's the maximum. But if you would like for us to change that, we can change that in the ordinance. They also had a concern about leases that are subject to HUD rental restrictions. And just to let you know, some of the HUD programs do provide that if your rent is determined by the HUD rental rate, that rate changes, then your rental amount in the lease can change upon that change. So this would not affect that though, because this will only affect leases at the end of the term when the rent goes up. So this would not affect those midterm adjustments based on HUD rules. I think their last concern was penalties. They do not believe there should be a fine for this process. However, we have this under code enforcement, so that's the only way that we really could enforce this was with a fine. But again, that's a policy decision, so I will leave that to all of you. So we are here if you have any questions.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you very much for your information. Very, very informative. However, there was another thing on the leases. When you have a lease with the federal government or some other Section 8 or whatever, you're right, we don't control that. That's done on a yearly application with the tenant, the housing authority, and yourself. And during that period of time of 12 months, if that rate of income changes for that person, either up or down, those leases automatically adjusted between the three parties. So we don't change that lease, even though they have a contract for a certain amount, it's fluid enough to change depending on what happens on the income of that person.
Correct. So we could not affect that.
Right, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Councilman Goods.
You heard Florida Rising district person come and talk about this 60 versus 90 days. I remember last time you talked about that you didn't feel comfortable with the 90 days. Can you repeat that again?
So the reason I chose 60 was because there's a Florida statute that provides that if a lease includes a provision stating that a landlord or tenant has to give notice to terminate a lease, that notice period cannot be more than 60 days. So basically, Florida statutes is limiting the time period to provide notice to the other person to terminate a lease. So raising the rent is basically an offer to renew a lease at the end of the term. Therefore, I equate that to the 60-day notice period. So as a landlord, if you have to give notice to renew a lease, it can only be 60 days. This is the equivalent of that.
Thank you.
I'm happy to make a motion.
Well, hang on, is there a public comment?
This is a public hearing. There may be
Yes.
members of the public that
Is there a
want to speak.
public comment?
Thank you. Good morning, City Council. My name is Eric Arduino. My address is P.O. Box 151958, Tampa 33684. I am the Government Affairs Director for the Bay Area Apartment Association. We represent the apartment industry in the greater Tampa Bay region. The ordinance covers two main topics. First, it requires landlords to provide a 60-day notice for rent increases and lease agreements with a specific term. This would apply to your standard one lease agreement. We appreciate that the length of this notice was set at 60 days, which is in line with state law and actually also industry practice. Lease renewal offers typically will be sent out 30 to 60 days ahead of time, plus a 15-day sort of window that's required under state law. So largely, we're already complying with what is required under the ordinance or the proposed ordinance. Second, in the case of month-to-month leases, the ordinance, as noted, does require tenants and landlords to provide 30 days notice of lease termination prior to the end of the rental term. I want to come back to that in a second. At the beginning of the week, as noted earlier, we sent in a letter with various suggestions and would certainly appreciate your consideration of them. City Attorney has run through all of them, but I'll just briefly go through them as well. First, because the ordinance seems to apply to existing leases, but maybe not, so that may not necessarily apply then. But if it does, it may run afoul of constitutional protections as it relates to the obligation of contracts. And this can be addressed by applying the requirements of the ordinance to making it very clear that they apply to leases going forward. And that, I think, would certainly solve the problem, and I think in line with what I heard, but, you know, of course, we can circle back on that. Second, there are a variety of federal programs, which we talked about, and that does have an impact on notice, but I'd also say process, because the ordinance also lists out a very specific process, which isn't necessarily in line with all the different federal programs that are required, or that housing providers engage in. So that's something to keep in mind, and to avoid conflict there, you might want to consider excluding those types of federal programs. And then third, on the month-to-month notice, again, just to underscore, state law pegs the notice requirement at the end of the lease term. So right now under state law, it's 15 days. This ordinance proposes to extend that to 30 days. If you extend it to 30 days, that means by and large, you're really making month-long leases, 2-month-long leases. And that's, you know, the tenants that we work with, the residents that we do have a number that do want to have the flexibility that state law provides these types of, these leases to get out of it by the end of the month. And so by moving this date to 30 days, you really don't give them that opportunity to get out of the lease. They really are, in most cases, either not going to be able to provide the required notice in the same month, or if you do, say 31 day, you have 1 day window to do that. So in reality, you're really, I think, if you go forward with 30, there's an issue with a lot of our residents who like to be able to exit out of their lease by the end of the month. And I think I'm out of time, but thank you very much for considering our ideas here, and happy to answer your questions.
Councilman Miranda.
I caught it all to the last part. You threw me a curveball, I think, and I wasn't prepared for it. But 30 days, you said if you have a 30 days and you do what we want, it'll be really a 60-day notice, contract, am I right? However, if that person that has a 30-day lease with you comes and says, I'm leaving, then nothing happens. It ends in 30 days.
So again, the lease notice as it stands, whether it's under state or the extension here, is pegged to the end of the lease term. So if you want to take a particular month as an example, I think this month has 31 days, right? Whatever. So on May 1st, you could have given the notice under this ordinance, given the notice, and then you'd been fine, you'd be able to end your lease at the end of the month. If you gave it on May 2nd, if I'm understanding correctly, you would not be able to give that notice and exit at the end of the month. So if your month is a 30-day month or February 28-day month, you have to give notice the month before to actually affect the termination of the lease.
I agree with that to a point, and I'm not an attorney, but it depends if that party, there's two parties for this lease. Party A, the property owner or the contract owner, and the party who's leasing the apartment or rent of the apartment or bill or whatever it is. So if that individual turns it in within that 30 days, then it ends on the 30th day. No, it got to go 60 days.
You have to have at least the 30 days notice. So you have to do it before the 30-day, that 30-day period. Right now, it's a 15-day period. So you can, for most months, you can give notice in the first and most of that second week and be fine. But with this, you have to give notice before, with 30 days. And so you're losing that ability for the tenants who want to exit the lease. And we're talking about tenants who are just moved to the area and just, found something really quick. Or tenants who are looking for a house and they just found one and they're ready to get out. They have to give notice before those, before those 30 days, in which case, in some months, it's going to be the month prior. That'll be the only window.
Well, is that the exception or the rule?
I think there's more months with
No,
less
on
than
the person. In other words, you have the intellectual knowledge of leasing, we don't. So, on your experience, is that the exception to the, or is that the rule that you're applying that you think is going to happen? In other words,
I'm not sure I understand the question.
You have the ability, because of your vast knowledge of having your clients, what you just stated about if you don't do this by a certain day, it's not 30 days, it's 60 days. So what I'm asking is, by your knowledge and your institutional ability to understand from the past to present, if you were looking back, how do you think it would be? 50% of the people would be more to go to the 60 days, or 35%? I don't know that. I don't think the council members know that.
I don't know if we necessarily taken a survey or a poll of the number of residents who've utilized this. I do know from the conversations I had with multiple members that this is a often asked for request by residents. Again, new residents to our area, or especially these days, requests by people who are looking for a home, people who are on assignment by job for a temporary time, not to have a long lease and to have that flexibility to get out easily.
Well, they better read the contract then.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody on the line that, for public comment?
No, the one person we registered was Eric Gordano, but he showed up in person.
Let me ask one other question, if I may. I know this is maybe out of the realm a little bit, but Councilor, do we have anything that's possible when these contracts are written in one language, which should be? And then what about people coming into this area that are not, they don't speak the English language and they don't read it from whatever country they come from? Is there anything in there that somebody's got to explain it to these persons what it is that they're signing?
We have not included in the ordinance that
I think that could be a big
advising
hindrance
people to
where
get
this environment
legal
is changing.
advice. Go
Yeah, and we also, I mean, that, if you're interested in pursuing that, we may need to look at that. I think there is some statutory provisions about.
I just thought of it
that-
now.
That, you know, I believe the legislature has mandated that we use English. I don't know whether we can mandate alternative, you know, language. And we are doing a tenant bill of rights that is in Spanish and in English, though.
And the reason I asked that, even though it came up not to my head, is that I've had now 3 cases in the last 2 months that have signed those contracts that you asked them. So you live for free or to a certain amount, reverse mortgages, and these people really need help. I don't know how it can help them, but it is what it is. And 2 of them have told me that the time they signed, they didn't even know what they were signing because they don't speak or write the English language. Thank you.
Councilman Carlson.
Just a response to Councilmember Miranda, I think it's a good idea for us to ask staff to look into that as a separate topic, because it should apply to everything about tenant contract. And so if you make a motion later to have staff look into.
We'll do it at the end of the meeting.
Happy to support.
Motion, please.
I just wanted to clarify one point that he had, if I may. There was a question about whether this applies to existing leases. It applies to existing leases in the way that if you currently have a lease and your landlord is going to raise the rent, that landlord currently will have to give you 60 days notice. So it applies to leases in that way, but my argument about it's not impairment is that it's not precluding any obligations under your current lease. This is regarding the obligation to provide notice for the next lease. However, it does apply to existing leases that are in effect now, that they will have to give you 60 days notice to raise the rent at the end of the term. I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Move to close.
Thank you. Motion to close by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Vieira.
Councilman Carlson, did you want to read it? I mean, if I may, as it was yours, you sure? Okay. And we're on 46. Okay. I move an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida, amending this City of Tampa Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, to add Section 12-146 and Section 12-147, increasing the notification period for month-to-month residential leases to 30 days, providing for a requirement that landlord provide 60 days prior written notice of a rental increase for residential leases, providing for enforcement and penalties for violations, amending Sections 19.4- or subsection A and 23.3 through 5, subsection D, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict herewith, providing for severability and providing an effective date.
Motion made by Councilman Vieira, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Roll call.
Miranda.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Vieira. Maniscalco.
Yes.
And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Agenda item number 47, file number TA CPA 21-23.
Could I state, Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Carlson.
If I could just state, several of these, Councilmember Hurtak and I were absent, and we were asked to review the record. I watched all the video and looked at the files on all of these, so prepared to vote. Thank you.
Jennifer Malone with the Planning Commission. I'm here to present on the second reading of 21-23. This is an adoption hearing for language related to the coastal high hazard area in the comprehensive plan, and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Malone? Any public comment?
Just wanted to note that there's a substitute ordinance. I think
Yes.
it'll be right here. Okay.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Councilman Maniscalco, can you read a substitute, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I have a substitute ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. Ordinance amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan Coastal Management Element to amend Coastal Management Element Policy 1.1.2, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Viera. Yes. Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Item number 48, file number TA CPA 21-24. Ms. Malone.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Jennifer Malone with the Planning Commission again. This item is adopting the new coastal high hazard area map into the comprehensive plan. And this is up for second reading and adoption. I'm available for any questions.
Is there any public comment? Excuse me, any comments or questions for Ms. Malone? Public comment?
Move to close.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hurtak.
Ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Element to update the Future Land Use Map, FLUM, and Coastal High Hazard Area, CHHA, Public Access Map, providing for a repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Hurtak, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Excuse me, roll call vote.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Viera.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 49, file number TA CPA 20-31. Ms. Malone?
Jennifer Malone again with the Planning Commission. 21-31 is part of the park, the project to make sure most of the parks in the city of Tampa are under recreational open space. So this would just take this Inner Bay pool from public, semi-public to recreational open space. I'm available for any questions.
Any comments or questions for Ms. Malone? Is there any public comment?
Move close.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilman Goods.
File number TA CPA 2131. Orders being presented for second reading and adoption. An orders amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan, Future Land Use Element, Future Land Use Map for the property located at 4321 West Estrella Street, otherwise known as Inner Bay Pool, from public to semi-public to recreation open space, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Motion made by Councilman Goods, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Roll call vote.
Viera.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 50, file number TA CPA 21-32. Ms. Malone?
Thank you, Jennifer Malone again. This is another park at the Martin Luther King Jr. Recreational Complex. Before you, from neighborhood mixed use 35 to recreational open space, I am still available for questions.
Comments or questions for Ms. Malone? Is there any public comment? Thank you.
Move to close.
Motion made to close by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor? Thank you. Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 50, CPA 21-32. Move an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance amending the Image 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Element, Future Land Use Map for the property located at 2200 North Oregon Avenue, otherwise known as Dr. Martin Luther King Recreation Complex from Neighborhood Mix 35, NMU/35 to Recreation Open Space R/OS, providing for repeal of all ordinance in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Roll call vote.
Viera.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Agenda item number 51, file number TA CPA 21-33. Ms. Malone.
Thank you again, Jennifer Malone with the Planning Commission. This is USF Park, going from public, semi-public to recreational open space.
Any questions for Ms. Malone? Is there anybody, public comment?
Move close.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilman Carlson.
Yes, sir, thank you. I'd like to move file number TACPA 21-33, ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, ordinance amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan future land use element, future land use map for the property located at 225 South Ashley Drive, otherwise known as USF Park, from public, semi-public P/QP to recreational open space R/OS, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing effective date.
Motion made by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Vieira, and Citro.
Yes,
Motion carried unanimously.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Malone. Need a motion to open item numbers?
All public.
Yeah, okay, we
I
did
think
it
they're
all.
open,
That's
but I do
correct.
think you need to swear in all
Yes.
witnesses at this point in time.
Thank you. If there's anybody that is going to be giving comment or, evidence to this today, would you please rise to be sworn in?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give today is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I'm sorry? Okay, anybody that's going to be given evidence in today's hearings, can you please be sworn in? Online?
Online, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 52, file number AB 2-20-11.
Good morning, Council. Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Item number 52 is AB 2 2011, being presented for second reading and adoption for 703 North Willow Avenue. The request is a special use for alcoholic beverage sales for a small venue, beer, wine, and liquor for consumption on premises and package sales for off-premises consumption. Site plans were dropped off at City Hall yesterday. I'm available for any questions.
Any comments or questions for Ms. Barnes? Anyone in the public that wishes to make public comment? Okay, the applicant, would you like to make any comments? Okay. No one online for public comments?
Move to close.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. I believe we left off at Ms. Hurtak. No? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Councilman Vieira.
Yes, sir. I move an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance approving a special use permit as to for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue consumption on premises and package sales off premises consumption, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor on that certain lot, plot, or tract of land at 703 North Willow Avenue, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Vieira, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Roll call vote.
Miranda.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Vieira.
Yes.
Maniscalco. And Citro.
No.
Motion carried with Citro voting no.
Thank you. File, agenda item number 53, file number VAC-22-07. Yes, sir. Mr. Sammons, have you been sworn in?
I have.
Thank you. Please
Ross
proceed.
Amos, Development Coordination, presenting file number VAC-22-07 for second reading and adoption. It's proposed vacating request to vacate the right-of-way or alleyway located south of Ida Street, north of Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, east of 26th Street, and west of 27th Avenue within the plat of North Campobella and subdivision in the city of Tampa. Available if you have any questions.
Any questions for staff? Is the petitioner here? Public comments?
Move to close.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you very much. I have an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida vacating, closing, discontinuing, and abandoning a right-of-way alleyway located south of Ida Street, north of Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, east of 26th Street, and west of 27th Avenue, within the plat of North Campobello, a subdivision in the city of Tampa, Hillsborough County, Florida, as more fully described in Section 2 hereof, subject to certain covenants, conditions, and restrictions, as more particularly set forth herein, providing for enforcement and penalties for violations, providing for definitions, interpretations, and repealing conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Second. Motion been made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Agenda item number 54, file number REZ 21-135. Petitioner.
Good morning.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Ms. Barnes.
Thank you, Council. Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Item number 54 is REZ 21-135, being presented for second reading and adoption for 3218 West Paul Avenue. The request is to rezone the property from RS60 to RS50. I'm available for any questions if needed.
Any questions for staff? Petitioner.
Good morning, Council. Steve Michelini, representing the petitioner. This petition was found to be consistent by the Planning Commission and city staff. There were no objections, and we would respectfully request your approval.
Is there any public comment? Thank you very much.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilwoman Hurtak. All in favor? Aye. Councilwoman Hurtak.
File number REZ 21-135, ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 3218 West Paul Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification RS60 residential single family to RS50 residential single family, providing an effective date.
Second. Motion's been made by Councilwoman Hurtak, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
and Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Agenda item number 55, file number REZ 22-04. Ms. Barnes.
Thank you, Council. Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Item number 55 is REZ 2204, being presented for second reading and adoption for 2303 North Jefferson Avenue. The request is to rezone the property from RM24 residential multifamily to PD to allow for development of the property with residential single-family detached uses. Site plans were dropped off at City Hall yesterday. I'm available for any questions.
Comments for Mrs. Barnes? Petitioner?
Chris Beckwith, applicant, here for the second reading. There were no objections on the first reading.
Any public comment? Anyone online?
Motion closed.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilman Goods.
REZ 22-04. Ordinance been presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 2303 North Jefferson Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification RM24 residential multifamily to PD plan development residential single-family detached, providing an effective date.
Motion made by Councilman Goods, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Viera. Yes. Maniscalco. Yes. Miranda.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Hurtak,
No.
Carlson,
Yes.
and Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried with Hurtak voting no.
Thank you. File number 56, item number 56, file number REZ 21-129.
Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Item number 56 is REZ 21-129, being presented for second reading and adoption for 105, 107, and 109 East 26th Avenue. The request is to rezone the property from RS50 residential single family to RM18 residential multifamily. I'm available for any questions if needed.
Any questions for Ms. Barnes? Petitioner.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Pedro Rodriguez for the applicant. We had a hearing on April 28th. There were no objections. The petition met with the comprehensive plan, so we're here seeking approval of the petition. Thank you.
Is there any public comment?
Second.
Motion been made by Councilman Maniscalco to close, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 56, REZ 21-129. Ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. Ordinance rezoning property general vicinity of 105, 107, 109 East 26th Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly scrapping section 1 from zoning district classification, RS 50, residential single family, to RM 18, residential multifamily, providing an effective date.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Roll call, I'm sorry, roll call vote.
Goods,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Vieira, Maniscalco, Miranda,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
and Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
It'll be so nice when we go back to pushing buttons again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Agenda item number 57, file number AB2-22-06. Ms. Barnes?
Thank you, Council. Item number 57 is AB 2206, being presented for second reading and adoption for 3615 and 3617 West Gandy Boulevard. The request is for a special use for alcoholic beverage sales for a large venue, beer, wine, and liquor consumption on premises, and package sales for off-premises consumption. Site plans were dropped off at City Hall yesterday. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Barnes? Petitioner?
David Smith, 401 East Jackson Street, for the applicant. I'm here to answer any questions, recommendations, and consistency findings by staff and the Planning Commission. There were no objections at the hearing. Respectfully request your approval.
Any comments or any questions?
Is there any public comment at all?
Yes, I believe that I'm going to go there. Anyone in the public that would like to make any comments? And I know we have Ms. Strohmeyer on the line. Ms. Strohmeyer, are you there?
Hello?
Hi there.
Hi,
Yes,
how are
could
you?
you turn on your video, please?
Oh, yeah. Sure, I can. Hello?
Hello,
Can you-
we see you.
Hi, Jean Strohmeyer here, talking about, we're on number 56.
I'm sorry, Ms. Strohmeyer, can you
Yes.
raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
Do
Thank
you
you.
swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Jean Strohmeyer, and I just registered to talk on number 56, which is, no, 57, right? 57. And that is the Publix going to have the on-premise bar, if you will. I have to say that's the best idea ever. I have been to Sun City, Arizona, and I got to ride the golf cart from the house we rented on the golf course and got to drive the golf cart to the grocery store. And you're sitting at the grocery store. There's a nice little cocktail lounge, whatever. A lot of some folks are shopping, and you could just sit there and then drive your golf cart back home with your groceries. I think Publix did a great job, and thank God that's my Publix, and I can't wait till they reopen, because I've only been to Publix 3 times because I don't have one right here, and I don't like any other Publix but this one. And this one I would like a lot better, so good job, Publix. Thank you. That's it. I'm for this. Yay. That's it.
Any other public comment? Thank you very much. Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, just to state for the record, this is, before it closed, also the primary Publix that I go to, and it's in my neighborhood, but I'm farther than the notice period, so I don't think I have a conflict, but I just wanted to disclose that I have shopped there.
That's suspicious to me.
Just for the record, there's no conflict. You can vote on this. So.
You don't have to turn red.
We're gonna all be having parties there.
You and a lot of other people. Motion to close, please.
Second.
Motion to close, motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Carlson.
Thank you, sir. Like to move file number AB 2-22-06, ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance approving special use permit S2 for alcoholic beverage sales, large venues consumption on premises and package sales off premises consumption, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor on that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 3615/3617 West Gandy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 4, providing that all ordinance or parts of ordinances in conflict or repealing ordinance number
Second.
9429A and rescinding special use 1S1V11-401, providing effective date.
Motion has been made by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. As the record reflects, I voted no on this last time. I still have a lot of concerns. I'm sure this public knows that it's going to be kind of under a microscope for this area, but I have changed my opinion and I will be voting yes on this. But let's just see where this goes.
What do you mean where it goes? I know where it's gonna go. We're the only one.
I know it's going to go there, but let's see how this sip and shop goes. Okay, roll call vote, please. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Hertak, did you want to?
I was gonna say that it might be the first in Tampa, but, it's kind of everywhere else, so.
Well, there have been some other places. Anyways, roll call vote, please.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yep.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
and Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Could I mention one more thing, please, sir?
Councilman Carlson.
Thank you. This is just a note for Transportation Department, Mobility Department. Please, is there any way to create a light or some kind of different situation there? It's very difficult to get back out on Gandy. People from Target cut through Publix to get to Himes. Now that's blocked off, and so there's a big traffic jam getting out to go onto Gandy, taking a left especially. But when Publix opens back up and it's bigger and better, it's going to be really, really crowded. So I just throw that out as a note. Thank you. Especially if people are drinking and trying to get out when they shouldn't be driving. Thank you.
I'm just saying. Councilman Maniscalco, did you want to say anything?
Yep, I guess we have to move to continue item 58 to June 2nd, is that correct?
Rebecca Jones, City Attorney's Office. So when this public hearing was scheduled for the development agreement, we didn't know when the second reading of the vacation ordinance would be. And this development agreement implements obligations that can only be done once the roadways are vacated. So we're asking that this be continued until the hearing, the same hearing that you're hearing, the second reading of the vacation.
All right.
Is that a motion?
Yes, move to continue
So
item PH 22-74005 to June 2nd, 2022 at 10:30 a.m. so it can be heard with the file number VAC 21-15.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goots. Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Vieira,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
and Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Move to withdraw item 59.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. Roll call vote.
Goods,
Yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
and Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Okay, agenda item number 60. File number VAC 22-15.
Mr. Chair, I also need to recuse myself on this one. My company works with one of the companies involved with this. Of course, we don't work on any issues related to applications with the city of Tampa, but because we work on other matters in abundance of caution, I'm going to recuse myself. Thank you.
Mr. Sammons.
If I may, Chair.
Go ahead.
Ron Wigington, Legal Department. Item number 60 is a request to vacate a portion of Whiting Street right-of-way in downtown Tampa. This particular request is a little bit unique because this portion of Whiting Street was previously vacated in 2017, but the ordinance was rendered null and void due to the developer's inability to commence construction within 3 years. The same developer is requesting the same vacating now. As always, during first reading, I would like to remind City Council that it has wide discretion to either approve or deny the request. Some factors to consider in that deliberation include whether the vacating will relieve the public from the cost of maintaining the right-of-way, whether the vacating will alleviate a public nuisance or curtail criminal activity, whether the vacating will foster redevelopment, and whether an abutting property owner's access will be substantially diminished or completely cut off. I'd like to open the floor now to Mr. Ross Sammons for his presentation.
Mr. Sammons.
Ross Sammons, Development Coordination. I'd like to ask the clerk to share my screen, please. Thank you. Ross Sammons, Development Coordination, presenting file number BAC-22-15. The property address is 103 South Ashley Drive. It is a proposed vacating request to vacate a portion of Whiting Street lying south of Washington Street, north of Browering Street, west of Ashley Street, and east of Hillsborough River. This street was created per subdivision plat of General Plat of Tampa and is located in downtown Tampa. The application was filed on March 5th of 2022. The applicant owns property on the south side of Whiting Street that is requested to be vacated. The applicant's reason for the application is as follows. A portion of Whiting Street was vacated. Again, per City of Tampa Ordinance 2017-31, the ordinance is void due to conditions of the ordinance not being met. The vacating required for development of the parcel south of Whiting Street. This alley is within Downtown Tampa Partnership. No existing code violations exist. The applicant is requesting to vacate, again, a portion of Whiting Street located at 103 South Ashley Street. This right-of-way consists of approximately 10,600 square feet. Stormwater, traffic signalization, TICO, Frontier, and Spectrum utilize this alley and are requiring an easement reservation over all of the part of the vacating area. Stormwater is allowing some encroachments into the easement area. The City of Tampa owns a parcel on the north side of Whiting Street and are in favor of the vacating. Here's an aerial showing the requested vacating and proposed vacating in yellow and the applicant's property here in red. Again, just a map view of the area. This is the portion of Whiting Street proposed vacating in the Henry and Knights subdivision map. And this is the section map showing the general vicinity of previously vacated properties. Here's an image of Whiting Street looking west from Ashley Street. The applicant's property looking south from Whiting Street. This portion is to be vacated. The abutting property looking north from Whiting Street. This is a portion of the proposed vacating. I'm sorry. Again, Whiting Street looking west from Ashley Street. Those are duplicates. The staff have no objections to this vacating request based on responses received from reviewing agencies. If the vacating request is approved by council, easement reservations are required for stormwater, traffic signalization, TICO, Frontier, and Spectrum. Also conditions to allow specific encroachments into the easements as noted. Must meet all NFPA codes at permitting. Comply with Chapter 27 as regards to tree preservation and site design. That's all I have. If anyone has any questions, staff is available.
Comments or questions? Thank you. Petitioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Council. Jim Porter with Ackerman, 401 East Jackson Street, Tampa. I'm here representing the applicant. We concur with staff's findings and we ask for your approval. I'll note for the record that the city will still maintain fee ownership of the property. We will not own it if it's vacated. We'll provide all the easements that have been articulated, and then the city will provide us the easements necessary for us to do the redevelopment of the area. But otherwise, we concur with the staff's recommendation.
Comments or questions to the petitioner? Is there any public comment?
Move to close.
Second. Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Councilman Vieira?
Yes, sir.
Wait, take a vote.
I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Councilman Vieira?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, I move an ordinance, the City of Tampa, Florida, vacating, closing, discontinuing, and abandoning that portion of Whiting Street right-of-way located South Washington Street, north of Browring Street, east of the Hillsborough River, and west of Ashley Street, is more particularly described in Section 2 hereof, subject to certain covenants, conditions, and restrictions as more particularly set forth herein, providing for enforcement and penalties for violations, providing for definitions, interpretations, and repealing conflicts, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Vieira, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Roll call vote.
Miranda,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
and Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Carlson abstaining.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Second reading and adoption will be held on June 16, 2022 at 9:30 a.m.
Council, we have 3 items left, which may be lengthy. Do we want to go ahead and break
Yes.
for lunch now and then come back at 1:30?
Yes.
If I may?
Yes, sir.
I have a graduation I have to go to that will preclude me from very likely being here for these items. And these are they the final 3 items?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. and I'll-
62, 63, and 76.
I was going to make a quick motion for something. May I make it now? In case
Surely.
if I'm not, I appreciate it. It's just rescheduling. Motion for commendation for Colonel DJ Reyes for his induction to the Florida Veterans Hall of Fame for the July 19th presentation session.
Second.
And I'm happy you graduated.
The what, I'm sorry, sir?
I said, I'm happy you graduated.
Oh, I know, right? Finally.
Congratulations, you did.
Motion made by Councilman Vieira, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Okay. We are in recess until 1:30.